For those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we? 5 years of political warfare has deeply divided Washington and the country. We have been as clear as we know how in expressing our deep concerns about President Trump's actions and words in the coarsening of public debate. But for nearly 80 million Americans, election denialism, public trials, and January 6th were not as important as the issues that moved them to send Donald Trump back to the White House with their vote. Joe and I realize it's time to do something different, and that starts with not only talking about Donald Trump, but also talking with him.
Oh, it's very generous of them. They're so reflective and thoughtful to give Donald Trump another chance to be able to communicate with Joe and Mika. What a magnanimous gesture on their part. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. What do you think about Trump giving him the opportunity to skulk back to Mar-a-Lago and indulging them in their quest for relevance?
Well, I love my president-elect. I love Trump. I have the utmost respect for him, and he has been through so much, and we all know the trials and tribulations that he's been through. What the hell was he thinking? He spent 90 minutes with them. He gave them a platform to express. They don't care about him. Restart Communications. They don't want to be off the party list because their party's destroyed right now. They don't have a party. They're trying to save their network, and they're trying to get on the list, get on the Christmas list again, because they used to be friends with him. And I remember at one point in time, didn't Joe Scarborough float his name around to be his VP? So they flipped on him once, and then he lets them back. He lets the fox back into the hen house. I don't understand this move at all, and I would not trust them at all.
Well, I would like it. Well, obviously you don't trust them. And by the way, this is something that the left may have to learn the hard way too. At the end of the day, snakes like Mika and Joe, who get handsomely paid to be nitwits for a few hours a morning, they will protect themselves first. So for all those who embrace the turncoats out there, the Scarboroughs and the Kinsingers and the Joe Walshes, just know that if an opportunity arises for them to save themselves, then they'll cut bait on you just like they cut bait on their previous sponsors. So a little lesson there with respect to Morning Joe. I don't mind him indulging Morning Joe where they have to pilgrimage to Mar-a-Lago and kneel before the throne, as it were, and really defile themselves. And then of course they're going to come back to their show and they're going to cover it as we disagreed and we spoke truth to power. But to those who say, why would we reopen the line of communications, as if it's their choice, I say, why not? Oh, wow, it's so powerful, Mika. I mean, these are silly, silly people. So I like the idea of Trump allowing them to come and at least indulging them for whatever, hour, 90 minutes, it doesn't matter. Only for the purpose of making it broadly known, because, of course, it's generated backlash against Morning Joe from inside the D.C. press corps. So let them cannibalize each other a little bit. I like him using them as chum, like Trump using them as chum to chum the waters in the D.C. press corps, but not for any extended period of time.
They want access. They want that sit-down interview with him, and but it's just
everybody knows what they want.
Well, a lot of people.
The question is, what's Trump's approach? The approach is, they embarrass themselves. They generate backbiting within their own circles, and then here's the question: then Trump just ignores them and lets them drift off into irrelevancy and lets their ratings, like the rest of the MSNBC hosts' ratings, tank because they are not in the game. Nobody's interested in talking to them. They're irrelevant and they collapse in on themselves. If that's the larger strategy, then I don't mind indulging Morning Joe. If it's going to be treating Morning Joe the way he calls into Fox and Friends, then I think he's just propping them up, and I don't see a purpose.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on the same line.
Doug in Oswego.
Yeah, it's the old saying, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. I agree with you.
Thanks for the call. I mean, but these are not serious enemies. You know, there should not be any time spent worrying about Morning Joe or
worried.
Joy Reid. I'm talking about with Trump. There's no need to keep your enemies close, except to, again, have them expose themselves as the craven, status-grubbing newsreaders that they are. That's what you want to do.
They're not journalists, people.
Oh, yeah, this just in. And this is not to say that you don't talk to the other side. It's not to say, oh, we're just going to ignore everybody who disagrees with us. No. Charlemagne the God, actually, in his interview with Nikki Haley, made this point, taking up this talking point now from the left about the right-wing media, the monolith that is the right-wing media. And we need our own Joe Rogan.
If you don't like something that somebody's saying, if you don't like something that somebody's doing, why not go talk to that person about it, and challenge them right then and there? Like that's why I think the biggest issue is, even now when I see all of these liberals, they're having these conversations about, the left needs a Joe Rogan, or the left needs conservative networks like the right has. It's like, no, how about grow some balls and go on these platforms? How about go talk to Joe Rogan? How about go talk to Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, whoever it is? How about go on?
Well, the left had Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan, who was a big Bernie fan, left them.
Yeah, I don't know that the left doesn't still have Joe Rogan. We'll see how it goes. I mean, certainly post-Trump. Don't expect that these were sort of well thought out philosophical moves. These are so many of these people treat this like student council elections. It's sort of who I like. It's who I think is resonating with other people I like. This is not deep policy thinking going on. But regardless, that's where they are now. This is not, but for Trump dealing with leftist media, which is the entirety of legacy media, the point is to pick your spots, in my view. You don't just take all comers who want to crawl back for access and relevance. Let some go. Because just like with respect to accountability in the government, there should be some accountability for these professional purveyors of agitprop like Morning Joe, the entire cast of Morning Joe, not just those two nitwits, Joe and Mika. I'm talking about those phony journalists that they platform to in their ridiculous roundtables. There needs to be some punishment for them, and the way you punish them is not, the government's going to come and shut them down, the government's going to come and arrest me. Silliness. The way you punish them, again, going back to David Mamet, who has the keen insight on these people, is to facilitate their oblivion. They're irrelevant. That's what they crave.
Right, and they're meeting with Trump as they're trying to stay relevant.
Mark and Rochelle.
Yeah, I didn't get to see this, but I'm guessing that there was some positive look on Trump by him being able to talk about his policies on a network that all they did was, bash him and give all kinds of opinions about him. Well, here was a chance for him to lay out the facts a little bit, even if their questions were a little skewed. Maybe
he met with them privately. He met with them privately. Wasn't on their show. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for the call, Mark. And again, to your larger point, the idea. I'm not saying he should ignore anybody who disagrees with him. He shouldn't go take on the tough questions, but much less frequently and with much more discernment when it comes to selecting who you will indulge. It has to be serious people. It has to be people that will allow you to have your say. It's not, spending time with Morning Joe or Klingon Collins on CNN is a waste of your time, and it's not delivering the message to them that needs to be delivered. Message to the ecosystem by using them as an example is better said. Mike in Union.
Hey, Dan and Amy. Two things. Well, first, he totally neutered them. He made them irrelevant, to your point. Two, and I'm not so sure if this is right, but he's close friends with people over at NBC. Did he maybe do him a favor by keeping the cash flow going for their show? But to my first point, he totally neutered them and showed them who they are. They're fakes.
Thanks for the call, Mike. I agree.
Well, they were all on, NBC owns MSNBC. They're all one big family, and he was on NBC for 13 years with The Apprentice. But he used to be friends with them. Remember the last time, because she talked about, the last time we saw him was 7 years ago. I don't know if you remember this, and I don't know why this is etched into my brain, but Trump said, Mika just had neck work done. I saw her and Joe there at one of my parties, and they never saw them again, but he was,
Yeah, taking care of that turkey neck that she's got. I got it.
I
Point
know, but
is,
I'm just saying
here's
that they
another
used to be cordial with each other.
Yeah, here's another lesson. Pick your friends, especially in politics, much more carefully, too. Some of Trump's friends, longtime friends in and out of politics, have done him great damage, haven't they?
Yep.
Coming up at 5:38, we'll turn our attention to Trump's cabinet. More selections, including a friend of our show who has become a nominee for another important cabinet post, and then the latest on all the swirl around Matt Gaetz, 5:38.
But first, let's stop into that newsroom. Good morning, Mike Scott.
Dan and Amy at 5:33. We have heavy rain, lots of accidents out there on the roads, causing some problems this morning. We'll get to that for you in just a moment. But first, the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro wraps up today. President Biden is there, where on Monday he reiterated American support for Ukraine in its fight against Russia. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley last night on the move to okay new arms for Ukraine.
January 20th can't get here fast enough. What Biden is doing is totally reckless, Laura. It is absolutely reckless. And let's not forget, this is a guy who the Democrats decided couldn't be trusted, didn't have the capability to run a presidential campaign. And now here he is, potentially leading us down the path to World War III.
Josh Hawley on the Laura Ingraham Show on Fox News last night. President-elect Trump expected to be in South Texas today for the 6th launch of the SpaceX Starship prototype after yesterday's planned blastoff was delayed. L.A. could soon become a sanctuary city. The L.A. City Council slated to consider a sanctuary city ordinance today. The issue has been pushed in recent days by Mayor Karen Bass. A University of Iowa study is shining light on a possible link between vitamin C and cancer survival.
A University of Iowa study is showing a high dose of vitamin C in an IV could drastically increase the survival rates of some cancer patients.
If you received the IV vitamin C, you doubled your overall survival from 8 months in the standard of care chemotherapy group to 16 months.
Dr. Joe Cullen, University of Iowa surgery professor, says they've tested their theory in patients with late-stage pancreatic cancer, as well as those with brain cancer. They're now trying it with lung cancer patients as well. Dr. Cullen reminds patients that consuming high doses of vitamin C orally is less effective. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
President-elect Trump picking former Wisconsin Representative Sean Duffy for the role of Transportation Secretary. A South Carolina woman who gained international attention for drowning her 2 young sons back in 1994 is asking the state to release her on parole. Susan Smith is now 53. You may recall Smith falsely claimed that a black man had kidnapped her children during a carjacking. Family and friends said an emotional goodbye to the Chicago police officer killed in the line of duty earlier this month. A funeral was held yesterday for Officer Enrique Martinez.
He was murdered on a cold, dark, forgotten street. You may not know it, but that night, my brother saved countless lives.
Darian McMillan has been charged in his killing. A retired Chicago police officer seriously wounded following a shooting in the North Center neighborhood.
There was like 3 gunshots, bang, 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 and you just knew that it was gunfire.
The 74-year-old was exiting his vehicle yesterday morning in the 2000 block of West Bertaux when the suspects fired in his direction. Several after-school programs in the Chicago area are at risk of being eliminated. The problem is the state itself faces a funding crisis. Chicago sports, Bulls knocked down 23 three-pointers in a 122-112 win over the Pistons. An all-star for the Bulls in the 1970s has died. Franchise great Bob Love has passed away at the age of 81 after a long battle with cancer. Blackhawks aim to avoid their third loss in a row when they host Anaheim at the United Center tonight. Monday Night Football, Houston crushes Dallas 34-10. The news, a service of Valdecast Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service. Contact Valdecast Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Valdecast.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2025? That sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what AM 560 The Answer wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest presented by Team Hochberg. Enter once per day, every day between now and December 20th, and you could have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor, or just click on the Give Life banner.
Ho, ho, ho! Time to check the list.
Hey, Santa, you're looking a little rosier than usual.
Yeah, big guy. Is your blood pressure okay?
Gee, I hope so.
You know, you should drink 120 Life.
Totally. 120 Life is a natural way to help control blood pressure without the side effects of medication.
It's a delicious juice drink and powdered mix with natural ingredients like pomegranates and tart cherries.
It tastes great and is shown to work wonders for blood pressure.
Ho, ho! Best put 120 Life on my list.
Try 120 Life yourself, risk-free, with a 2-week trial pack. Order now. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code CHRISTMAS to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give you your money back if you're not satisfied. Lower blood pressure is the gift that keeps on giving. Order now to get the Christmas special of 15% savings and free shipping. That's 120life.com. Use coupon code CHRISTMAS at checkout.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Is thinning hair or a receding hairline making you self-conscious? Try Hair Grow from New Nordic. Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start feeling your best with Hair Grow.
541, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We're going to start on the south side of Chicago Vincennes, north and southbound between 79th and 77th, entirely shut down both directions. The crash occurred earlier this morning. There was entrapment, lots of debris, and again, Vincennes is entirely shut down between 77th and 79th in both directions. Reagan, I-88, accident westbound, right at Route 53. Jane Addams, I-90 eastbound on the off-ramp to southbound Route 53. That's a major pinch point in the morning, and that's tied up with an accident. Solid traffic on the Dan Ryan in the express lanes inbound between the Skyway and 51st. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Rain early this morning. Cloudy, breezy, and mild later, and a high of 62. 61 right now. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
All right, listen up. Does inflation have you stressing about the cost of food for Thanksgiving? AM 560 is giving away $25 Butterball turkey gift card, to help with the cost of your turkey for a chance to win a $25 Butterball turkey gift card. Visit 560theanswer.com, keyword turkey. That's 560theanswer.com, keyword turkey. Good luck.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Trump's cabinet. Before we get into the particulars of the selections and the agencies, the issue of confirmation. Mitch McConnell said yesterday that there will be no recess appointments, quote unquote, sending a message to Trump that going to have to go through regular order. We're going to have to get them all confirmed the old-fashioned way. It's interesting that McConnell is saying that somebody needs to tap him, Mr. Freeze, on the shoulder and tell him he's no longer Senate Majority Leader. Well, regardless, Thune wasn't too excited about the idea. I'm not too excited about the idea either. It's something to have in your back pocket and to use as leverage. But, you know, there's a chance that you wouldn't get recess appointments past the Supreme Court, which it would ultimately go there if Trump used the machinations available to him to get a recess appointment. Good piece by Jeb Rubenfeld, constitutional lawyer we've had on the show, in the Journal, talking about that and the skepticism of recess appointments that both Thomas and Alito have expressed, in addition to Roberts, and without even getting into the three liberal justices. So it's complicated. You know, what this really comes down to, I think what it will come down to, is a test of Trump's leadership and ability to work behind the scenes to make sure you get to 50 on all of his nominees, and Thune's leadership. Is this a guy that the caucus is going to follow? And it's, the Senate, again, everybody's an independent actor, so it is a bit of a herding of cats process. Something else that was raised, and I just wanted to address it because I know it was circulating yesterday. Everybody has an angle in, an end run, rather than just doing the heavy lifting to succeed the old-fashioned way. One of the end runs that was proposed is this Federal Vacancies Act that was suggested as a way that Trump could get around any potential confirmation problem. It's specifically that this is all related to Gaetz, but I don't think Gaetz is the only one who's going to be a close vote. But it's specifically related to Gaetz. And so the federal, this was one of the tweets, Trump sent word to Senate Majority Leader Thune, if the Senate doesn't confirm Gaetz, he'll appoint him via the Federal Vacancies Reform Act of 98, which allows for temporary appointments of up to 210 days with a possible 200-day extension, and that would not require Senate confirmation, except you actually have to read the law. That's not how it works. Again, this may be using some leverage and trying to send a message that will use whatever power is at our disposal or make whatever arguments are available if you can't get it done the old-fashioned way, as I say. But the law applies to first assistants, existing presidential appointees, or current employees who have served for the preceding year. It could arguably be used to extend recess appointments if you could get a cabinet-level nominee appointed in a recess appointment, which recess appointments, as we've discussed, are good for 2 years. And then you can say, okay, well, then we'll use the Federal Vacancies Act to extend by 200 days this recess appointment, this acting, in this case, Attorney General, for the sake of argument. Okay, so let's just say that in the best case scenario, when you don't think you can get, let's just use Gaetz as the example, you don't think you can get Gaetz through the Senate, then, and you want to do a recess appointment, and you're going to take your chances at the court. Well, how do you get to recess? What if Thune and the Senate majority doesn't want to recess? They're going to actually block your ability to do a recess appointment. Well, there's a way around that, too, that would be unprecedented. Jeff Clark, who was acting attorney, or was, assistant attorney general in Trump's first term, was on Bannon's podcast yesterday, and he explained.
Under the Constitution, if the two houses disagree about whether to adjourn or stay in session, then the president has the power to send them into recess, both houses, for as long as he sees fit. So it's a very important power. It hasn't been wielded in the past before, but the framers were keen on giving that power to the president. It's an analog of a power that existed in English law.
So I guess if you can't get the Senate to do it, you could get the House to move to recess, and if they can't agree, then Trump can intervene and call recess for both chambers, at which point he could make recess appointments like Gaetz and then fight the battle at the Supreme Court. It's exhausting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
But
because we have a long time before these confirmation hearings.
Well, we're having a confirmation hearing right now in the public
Exactly.
arena. I mean, that's what's really going on.
Because I don't know if I could take much more of it.
So these confirmation hearings are like early voting. They don't do like 1 week before the Senate, a Senate committee. They do, 2 months from election day to taking office. So just to like talk a little bit about the machinations there, since you're hearing these various theories kicked around. But let's just go ahead. Well, you got 53 Republican senators. You got a majority in the House. Not that it's relevant for cabinet level confirmations, but or confirmations generally. But let's see Republicans use the power the people have placed with them. How about that concept? We're gonna do that. The people placed the power with Trump and with Republicans in the House and with Republicans in the Senate. Right. Let's see Republicans use power that has been conferred to them to productive ends. We don't get to see that very often.
No, we have a chance. We got the hat trick. Let's do it.
Jerry and Gurnee, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. Thank you for taking my call. You kind of stole my thunder. My question is, how many votes does it take to confirm one of these senators? Is it 50 plus 1?
50 plus Vance, yeah.
Okay. These Republicans can screw up a one-car funeral. They don't know how to be in charge.
Yeah.
They don't know how to be in charge.
Okay, well, we're giving them a chance.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, that's the attitude I would have too. I mean, rather than, you can trial balloon whatever different legal theories you want, and have discussions. There's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, at the end of the day, that to me should be Trump's public posture. They sent us to Washington to do something. They placed great trust and great power with us. Let's use it judiciously to do what they sent us to Washington to do. It's not that complicated a formulation. And to the extent you don't like my nominees, we want to talk about presidential norms or political norms. The political norm is that the president should be shown great deference to put the people around him that he wants put around him for his cabinet. I mean, he should be able to get the advisors he wants, barring some, high crime or misdemeanor, to borrow a phrase, that a nominee has committed that, just knocks him out of the box altogether. Because you don't like Matt Gaetz, because there are salacious allegations that have been leveled against Matt Gaetz, doesn't disqualify him. That is not disqualifying. That doesn't mean he cannot be the Attorney General. In point of fact, we've heard from some of his caucus mates on the other side of the aisle that the problem with Gaetz from their perspective is he is sharp.
Right.
He does have a pretty good legal mind. Now, that's not the same as running the Department of Justice. His resume as a barrister is thin, but this is a team effort. And so you put a team around him, like he's already got Deputy AG, his criminal defense attorney, and others will come. And just like you're going to do with Hegseth and Defense, just like you're going to do with every agency, because they are so big and they are so unwieldy. And no matter how experienced you are, as a cabinet secretary, just like as a president, you're going to be, drinking water from a fire hose.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Yes, there's a sinister motive to harm Matt Gaetz, and I don't know if you want to hear from this attorney that came forward yesterday, because this is getting into cray-cray town now. Do you want to hear it? I mean, apparently now he was, according to these two women have Joel Leopard as their attorney, and they claim that former Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz paid them for sex through his adopted son Nestor's PayPal account. Okay, so this is separate from the 17-year-old. These two women claim that Gaetz paid them for sex over a 2-year period, which if you met Matt Gaetz, Matt Gaetz doesn't have to pay anybody for sex. I can tell you that. And
wow.
Well,
okay.
I met him at Mar-a-Lago, and
and then what happened?
Is a witch hunt. He was very nice and pleasant, but I'm saying this is not a guy that is paying women to have sex. Are you kidding me? But these two women claim that they saw him having sex with a 17-year-old at this Orlando house party back in 2017.
What did your client witness at this party?
She was walking outside to the pool, and she observed to her right her friend, who was 17 at the time, having sex with Representative Gaetz. They were leaned up to what she described to as a game table of some type.
Did your client believe that Gaetz at the time knew that her friend was underage?
Yeah, so the House was curious about that. She testified that her belief was that Representative Gaetz had no knowledge that she was under 18, that she was 17 years old at the time he was having sex with her. She also testified that when Representative Gaetz found out that she was underage, that they stopped their sexual relationship and did not resume it until after she turned 18.
This, to me, is the craziest made-up story that I've heard in a long time. And I'm not an intellect like you, Dan, but I can body language. I could read body language. This attorney never looked, any reporter, because I watched him on CNN, I watched him on NBC. He seems like a complete shyster. And then the question came.
Imagine that.
Well, the DOJ, and they didn't just, they took years investigating this. Merrick Garland, a Democrat, Biden's guy.
The Department of Justice declined to prosecute Matt Gaetz for these allegations. So how should people square that decision with everything that you've laid out here today?
Whether or not a federal prosecutor takes a case and decides to move forward on a trial or move forward on an allegation is that particular prosecutor's decision. It doesn't mean they didn't do it.
Well, that's true. However, here's the larger point. Let's say that Gaetz did do that. Because, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he did or not. I don't know if he paid women for sex. It's certainly possible. It would not shock me. Let me put it that way. And I haven't seen the evidence, but if the evidence is payments to these women through his adopted son's PayPal account, Venmo account or PayPal account or whatever, well, that I'd like to have the opportunity to cross-examine these women that are making these allegations, and I'd like to see the evidence. But let's just say it all checks out. Bottom line is the Department of Justice didn't find the case credible enough to move forward with any prosecution of Gaetz. So even if you believe this is true, but the Department of Justice didn't find a case worthy of a criminal prosecution, should that knock Gaetz out of the box?
And they said they might come forward and testify during this confirmation hearing.
They did testify, both of them, that they consented to the activities. They were also asked whether or not they were victims, and she broke down in tears. And she said it's a very complicated question.
Did your clients make any assessments in their testimony about Mr. Gaetz's fitness or judgment to serve in office?
They're very careful about what they might express publicly, but one did say, I do not think a man like him should have that much power.
Right, exactly. You know, prostitutes are making character judgments on who should serve in office. This is very compelling stuff. I mean, give me a break. So the point is, were you a victim? It was consensual, and the transaction occurred allegedly, and so forth. The question I go back and say, if that happened, sans anything else, the complicated, this lawyer, should that knock Gaetz out of the box? That's a question.
Yeah.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
I think he'd be the best at de-weaponizing the Department of Justice that investigated him prior. I mean, he's a fighter. He's a mad dog. He's exactly what Americans put Trump in place to do, to drain the swamp and to.
So if what they're alleging is true, it doesn't matter to you.
To me, it does not matter.
Okay.
I think if he did, then he made a mistake, and he's moved on from that. It's now 2024. That was 2017.
Dave in Bristol, Wisconsin.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for taking the call. A couple of things. While I find it that, if you chum the waters, like you said, Dan, it would be very entertaining. They've slandered him for 10 years. I think he needs to attempt to play by the rules and do everything right so that nothing can stick, so that after the 4 years is up, like we've all said, he's already been president. None of that happened. Everything you accused him of, he did not do. I love Matt Gaetz. I would love to see him in. Like Amy, I don't think it matters. Bring receipts if you have them. But I do think he should have a backup plan, maybe a Jim Jordan or, DeSantis is a long shot. And as a truck driver, what do you feel about the new Secretary of Transportation?
Sean Duffy, thanks for getting to him. We'll have to pick it up on the other side, but former Wisconsin Congressman Sean Duffy. Boy, talk about a 180 from Mayor Pete Peabody, huh?
All right, now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
A funeral held for a Chicago police officer. A retired CPD officer, a sergeant, shot in the North Center neighborhood. A Darien woman is charged with a hate crime after an incident at a suburban restaurant. Bulls legend Bob Love dies at the age of 81. A well-respected endocrinologist is killed in a Barrington shooting. Bulls take down the Pistons. Blackhawks host the Ducks. And in college hoops, Northwestern takes on Montana State. WIND Chicago News Time.
1,000 days. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's how long Russia's war in Ukraine has lasted. And another bombing's left 12 Ukrainians dead as Russia's leader also signs a new nuclear doctrine today, allowing Vladimir Putin to consider using nuclear weapons if a nuclear power, like the U.S. or some of our NATO allies, are involved in an attack using conventional weapons. This 2 days after President Biden authorized Ukraine's use of long-range American missiles to fire deeper into Russia. And Ukraine's leader is asking Europe for more help.
President Volodymyr Zelensky is calling for unity to help his forces defeat those of Russia's Vladimir Putin. Speaking remotely to the European Parliament, President Zelensky praised his partners in the West for their support.
Together we have accomplished much, but we must not fear doing even more.
He warned the current contingent of 10,000 North Korean soldiers helping Moscow could grow to 100,000.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. That war's been a topic at the summit of G20 countries in Brazil, where President Biden will soon discuss sustainable development and energy, while President-elect Trump has a new cabinet pick nominating another Fox host, former Congressman Sean Duffy, to be transportation secretary, as the president-elect gets pushback from Democrats on a plan to declare a national emergency before a mass deportation of immigrants here illegally. He was using military assets. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says
the idea of calling out, the Army into the domestic confines of the United States seems uncalled for.
We expect a court filing today in a Trump legal case in New York City.
Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg's office is expected to tell Judge Juan Merchan how it wishes to proceed. Former and now President-elect Trump was found guilty earlier this year of falsifying business records to cover a payment to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. The defense continues to say the case is politically motivated.
That's Colonel Scott. America's listening to
6:02 and 61 degrees this morning. Cloudy skies. We've had plenty of rain overnight. Family and friends yesterday said an emotional goodbye to a Chicago police officer killed in the line of duty earlier this month. A funeral held yesterday for Officer Enrique Martinez.
He was murdered on a cold, dark, forgotten street. You may not know it, but that night, my brother saved countless lives.
Both Mayor Brandon Johnson and Governor J.B. Pritzker were asked not to attend by the family. A retired Chicago police officer is seriously wounded following a shooting in the North Center community.
There was like 3 gunshots, bang, 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 and you just knew that it was gunfire.
The victim suffered 2 gunshot wounds and was rushed to a nearby hospital in critical condition. 1 suspect remains on the loose. 1 is in custody. A well-respected area endocrinologist is dead following a domestic-related shooting in Barrington. Police say Olga Duchan of Vernon Hills was found shot Sunday in a Barrington home. The incident remains under investigation. Revised estimates indicate that the corruption trial of former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan will last longer than initially projected. Yesterday, Judge John Robert Blakey advised jurors the trial would continue through mid-January, after earlier suggesting it would end before Christmas. And a Chicago man is being sentenced to 20 years in federal prison for robbing 3 banks at gunpoint. Prosecutors say Christopher Porter robbed a bank in Evergreen Park and then 2 banks in Chicago in 2020 and 2021. Bulls knocked down 23 three-pointers in a 122-112 win over the Pistons in Motown. Nikola Vucevic led the team with 29. An all-star for the Bulls in the 1970s. Franchise great Bob Love has died at the age of 81 after a long battle with cancer. The news service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combining heritage and innovation in every cup. Hot air roasted locally and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee online at papanicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
We have so much to be thankful for this year. Our family, our friends, our nation. And it's important that we take the opportunity to give thanks for the many blessings in our lives. That's why AM 560 The Answer wants to make sure you have a turkey on your table for Thanksgiving this year. We're giving away Butterball turkeys. To enter to win, just go to 560theanswer.com/turkey. That's 560theanswer.com/turkey.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They're a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor, or just click on the Give Life banner.
Life takes a toll on our bodies. No way around it. Whether it's sitting hours on end at your computer or working a physical job, over time, your body pays the price. There is, however, an effective way to turn back the clock on pain. Relief Factor. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor helps support your body's response to inflammation. The difference, instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it for good. And it's 100% drug-free. If the pains that come with living a full life are affecting you, do as so many others have. Turn back the clock on pain with Relief Factor. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. When you feel good, it's amazing how much more you get out of life. So visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Try it for only $19.95. While we can't stop aging, not yet, we can stop pain. Turn back the clock with Relief Factor.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
You know, maybe if I'm going on a long hike, several hours, I like to bring some Balance of Nature.
That's some good stuff, I'll tell you.
I've always was taught to eat very healthy growing up. My family was Italian and Greek. We had vegetables and fruits all the time growing up. I feel wonderful. I feel terrific. I love your commercials. I think it's a wonderful way to do this.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code Chicago.
6:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you've got a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, you could save 90% off on average. To get your smile back, learn more, check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. Southside Vincennes, north and southbound between 77th and 79th, shut down due to a much earlier accident, and CTA buses are being rerouted. DuSable Lakeshore Drive jamming up northbound 57th up through 47th. Car into the wall on the Tri-State northbound as you're traveling northbound right at 394. Also on the Dan Ryan, vehicle fire, 2 left lanes blocked. It's in the outbound lanes of the Dan Ryan right at 59. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Some rain in the area early this morning, otherwise clouds and breezy. A high today 62, partly cloudy tonight, low 41. Clouds breezy and cool, shower tomorrow, the high 48. Clouds windy and cool, showers could mix with snow early Thursday, the high 41. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Cloudy and 61. Next news at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. While the D.C. press corps is, full-on National Enquirer focused on Matt Gaetz and the other, they say, controversial selections that Trump has made for his cabinet. There's been some other nominees put forward for various not inconsequential posts that are worthy of a mention, including where we left off last hour, former Wisconsin Congressman and noted log roller and pole climber Sean Duffy.
That's
friend of the show.
Yeah, he's been on several times.
Another guy who can communicate. We had him on many times during his congressional career, and then once he left Congress, he moved over to Fox. He was hosting a show on Fox Business, I think, right? Wasn't he?
Yep.
So here again, you see these patterns emerging in terms of what Trump is looking for his team. So there is a method to the selections, and one of the features is people who can communicate ideas. And all of these cabinet level positions include time on screen. He wants spokesmen for the administration coming from every which direction, all relevant policy angles. And I think that's smart. 312-642-5600, turnkey.provincial. He's not the only one. We didn't get to it yesterday, but over the weekend, Chris Wright, the CEO of Liberty Energy, was selected as Trump's energy secretary nominee. Now, the Energy Department is something that shouldn't exist, like so many agencies. But I'll leave that to DOJ. For the time, we have it, and so you need to staff it, particularly at the leadership level. Here was Chris Wright talking about climate change from an energy company executive's perspective.
So energy matters. It matters for human lives. It matters for human well-being. It matters for low-income people and social mobility, low-income people to come up. When you hear crazy stuff today, check it out, dig a little deeper. Hurricanes are not growing. That's in the IPCC report. Tornadoes are actually on the decline. Floods, droughts, all of these things you hear ceaselessly, they just simply aren't so. It isn't even controversial that they're not so. But media, politicians just continually abuse these facts. And I'll end with one last fact, because anxiety is growing among kids. I'm sure everyone has seen that. 20% of kids go to bed at night worried about climate change. Your chance of dying from extreme weather today is greater than 95, has been reduced by more than 97% over the last century. There's just an absolute plummeting from 500,000 people a year dying from extreme weather to less than 10,000 the last couple of years, while the world population has quadrupled. So facts matter, human liberty matters, bottom-up social organization has always been the way to a better world. Let's resist this force of top-down control that's not benefiting humans except those in government.
That was a pretty tight 90 seconds, don't you think? There's a guy who has been consuming the scholarship of our friends like Bjorn Lomborg at the Copenhagen Consensus Center and Patrick Moore, the co-founder of Greenpeace, and Ronald Bailey and so many others who have been battling this eco-supremacist climate alarmism nonsense for decades and decades. Seems like they've got an ally in Chris Wright. That's good news. You know why it's good news? Not just in terms of what is true and understanding the world and understanding the relative threats and the proportional responses to said threats, but just in dollars and cents. And you know where the Biden administration was going at regulating your washing machine and your dryer and your toilet and everything else under the sun in furtherance of saving the planet. Competitive Enterprise Institute estimates that the burden of regulations alone, not tax increases, the burden of regulations alone under the Biden administration costs the average American family $15,000 a year.
Jeez.
That has nothing to do with increased prices at the grocery store or increased prices at the gas pump, just regulations. And where are most of those regulations promulgated? Under what auspices? Saving the planet, right. Climate change. And this
we have
permeates.
To all do our part, right?
And this permeates every single department, just like DEI does. So you want to talk about massive cost savings, in addition to cultural change in the federal government, and the eco-hysteria, just like you, and the identitarian hysteria as enshrined in DEI. It's good stuff. One more I want to get to, because this is important on a number of fronts, including free speech, something that is near and dear to our hearts here, to Elon's heart, to Trump's heart. This is another signature issue for the Trump administration, and he nominated a good one in Brendan Carr to be head of the FCC. Brendan Carr, who had served as a commissioner and was calling out the nonsense going on at the FCC, including the unusual fast-tracking of the George Soros family's acquisition of Odyssey. It's a foreign entity. But anyway, this is an example of what you're going to get from Brendan Carr. By the way, like Sean Duffy likes to climb poles fast.
Mm-hmm.
There's some cool videos online. Brendan Carr going up with radio antenna workers, telecom workers, going up to the top of this radio antenna that's like, I don't know, it's got to be 40 stories, maybe more.
No, people die on those things.
Crazy. So he's no shrinking violet. Anyway, Brendan Carr taking apart Kamala Harris's $42 billion rural broadband initiative. Remember, the Biden
that's right.
administration,
How many people have the internet now?
The Biden administration is going to bring internet access to those farmers so they can make copies of their
IDs.
driver's licenses so they can show ID when they vote, since they don't have the technology at present. Anyway, listen to Brendan Carr.
In 2021, Vice President Harris agreed to lead the administration's signature $42 billion effort to extend internet service to millions of Americans. It's now been 1,039 days since that program was enacted. After all of that time, not one person has been connected to the internet. Not one home, not one business. Not even one shovel worth of dirt has been turned. And it gets worse. No infrastructure builds will even start until sometime next year at the earliest, and in many cases, not until 2026. This makes Vice President Harris's $42 billion initiative the slowest moving federal broadband deployment program in recent history. With Vice President Harris at the helm, Politico recently reported on the, quote, frustration in finger pointing that defined the program's, quote, messy, delayed rollout. One state broadband official described, quote, a chaotic implementation environment, dysfunction, delays. She added that the administration, quote, has provided either no guidance, guidance given too late, or guidance changing midstream. The administration, she said, is slowing states down. So what has the administration been doing over the last 1,039 days instead of connecting Americans? It's been advancing a wish list of progressive policy goals. The $42 billion program led by Vice President Harris is being used to push a climate change agenda, DEI requirements, price controls, preferences for government-run networks, and rules that will lead to wasteful overbuilding. All of this will leave rural communities behind. Frankly, it would not be the only time the Biden-Harris administration has left rural America behind. In 2020, the FCC secured a commitment from Starlink to provide internet to 640,000 homes and businesses for about $1,300 per location in federal support. But the government revoked that award last year after President Biden gave agencies the green light to go after Musk. The administration is now spending dollars on the penny to connect locations through its own initiatives. Senator Cruz released a report identifying entire projects where the administration is now spending over $100,000 per location for internet. So here's the bottom line. Absent major reforms, Vice President Harris's $42 billion program is wired to fail. It's time to correct course. Get rid of all the extraneous political goals and focus on quickly connecting Americans.
So $100,000 per location, federal government, and Starlink was going to do it for $1,300. This is center cut for Doge, right? I mean, this is the stuff that happens throughout government because the priorities, as you heard Brendan Carr explaining, are more focused on identitarian politics and political goals rather than the actual delivery of goods and services in a pragmatic way.
Yeah, it reminds me of the EV charging station, $7.5 billion, and by 2023, zero had been built.
Right, and so what you have here are, and by the way, this includes the prospect of Dr. Jay Bhattacharya at NIH recently, too, is being rumored. But what you have here with Chris Wright, what you have here with Brendan Carr, these are knowledgeable practitioners, pragmatic problem solvers. And this is the sort of stuff that you have to get to if you really want to reduce the size and scope and expense of government, because here's the dirty little secret that I'm sure the two Bobs over at Doge know. The total payroll of the federal government, now this is unburdened, but total payroll of the federal government is $110 billion a year. Federal government spending last year was $6.1 trillion. Reducing headcount is part of the discussion because it's not just about money, it's also about control. But you have got to get to, as Vivek said on Bartiromo over the weekend, entire agencies, or if not entire agencies, entire programs and departments within agencies, something that RFK Jr. has intimated as well. That's where you have to go. And they're not going to be able to wave a wand and do it. This goes back to what we were talking about with confirmations. You're going to have to use the power the American people conferred to you in a judicious way to advance the flag they sent you to D.C. to advance. So get ready to fight. Corey in Woodlawn.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. Good morning, Amy. This is the problem that I see in government, is that I in my hardest of hearts, I know this had to have been bipartisan. They could not have done this on their own. And the way that I think this is going to play out is I think that the Republicans are going to push back and they're going to allow the Democrats to do a lot of the heavy, nasty lifting against Trump. I think Trump is in for a fight. I hope he's got his gloves on, because I think that these guys are going to try their best to keep him and any of his agenda out of the public's view. And I think that this comment that this congressman made about a shadow government, these people are openly talking about committing treason against the United States of America and thwarting an executive branch governmental power. So I think Americans need to be on guard. We need to be watching. We need to be calling. We need to be making sure that our congressmen are doing their job instead of trying to subvert Donald Trump's win.
Thanks for the call, Corey. Yeah, and this is why you need surrogates, up and down the ranks and across the cabinet out there making the case relentlessly. You have to message every single day. You have to make the case over and over and over again from every angle possible through just about every communication channel possible except Morning Joe. John and Piatone.
Hi there. I've been an election judge for 40 years, and some of that in Cook County, south suburbs. And I'll tell you what, the thing that bothered me most about it is all the snake pit stuff the Democrats were doing in Cook County. I moved to Will County and then rural Will County, and it's a breath of fresh air. The silliness. Now, Will County's starting to get some Democratic influence there at the top.
Starting to.
I'm a little worried about it.
Yeah, they have it. It's not starting to. You're late to the dance. And by the way, I mean, I hear what you're saying about Piatone as compared to, say, I don't know, Frankfurt or New Lenox or something, but you're still in Will County.
Yes.
You're still in, the old Walsh family machine, Will County.
It's silliness. Another thing too is that
you still got Joliet.
A payback. Yeah.
How's that Piatone Airport coming along?
Yeah, right. I'm sure you don't want it.
You know what? I was actually at that meeting.
Oh, I know. They won't let it go. It's just.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. Lots of federal funding they're looking for. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I asked almost every one of those people at that meeting was, who do you think is going to get here? Well, Amazon. Well, no. Amazon flatly turned that thing down because they've got Rockford. That is secure. Then they didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And
this is the like every bad idea, because I just want the public works and the government's government cash to flow to my place. But, this is the philosophy. If you build it, they will come. Go ask Mid-America Airport if that's true. That's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem. It makes no sense from an aviation perspective, from an economics perspective. But I mean, Illinois is, base camp for policies that don't make sense. So I can understand why they're pursuing it. Thanks for the call, John. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They're a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor or just click on the Give Life banner. Oh, I've been there, members of your family heading to college soon. Well, paying for college and avoiding long-term student loan debt has never been more challenging. And our friend attorney Ray Kaplan at Kaplan Law Firm is here to help you and your family make informed decisions and plan smarter for college. Yes, by navigating and understanding all available student loan options. Don't go it alone. Set up your family for financial success. Plan college expenses together with attorney Ray Kaplan at Kaplan Law Firm. Schedule a consultation today by calling 312-294-8989. That's 312-294-8989. Or you can fill out the contact form online at financialrelief.com. That's financialrelief.com, Kaplan Law Firm.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Oh, I want to read a text from the Amish texter, but Dan, take a look at it first and tell me if it's clean, and maybe we can do that after the live read.
I know it. Do not read it.
Okay. It's good, though. All right, this holiday season, don't forget your Balance of Nature supplements, a proud supporter of this radio station for 10 years. Remember, gingerbread cookies and ice cream don't provide the fruits and veggies your body desperately needs every day to stay healthy, happy, and energized. That's why I've been supplementing with Balance of Nature for nearly a decade. It's so easy to open the individual capsules and dust them over salad or mix them into juice drinks. That's how I do it. And thousands of AM 560 listeners love their Balance of Nature, and you will too. 6 capsules a day provides your body, your heart, and mind with several servings of 31 different whole fruits and vegetables. You'll love it. Your body, mind, and heart will thank you for it. So celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Order your fruits and veggies today by calling 800-246-8751. Use coupon code Chicago to save 50% off your first set and free shipping when you sign up as a new preferred customer. Again, that number, 800-246-8751. Call now or order online at balanceofnature.com and use coupon code Chicago to save 50%.
Quick delivery service. What do you need delivered today?
Hi, I'm trying to work through a last-minute to-do list for my boss. Can you deliver a hard drive to the Loop in Chicago?
We can deliver that today.
Okay, can you deliver 20 boxes to a client in Rockford?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver 12 pallets of tile to our customer in Naperville?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver a large envelope to Northbrook?
We can deliver that today.
Oh my gosh, I think my water just broke. Can you...
We cannot deliver that.
Quick Delivery Service delivers your package no matter the size. More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and trucking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or your air shipment. Trucks are equipped to handle the load and provide ground-level service for same-day delivery. The Quick Delivery Service team of safe, licensed professionals can provide quick door-to-door service for your special delivery. QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. We deliver that today. But we don't deliver this.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
From coast to coast, hearing from leading lights of the left, I'm not hearing much in the way of searching for a soul. I'm hearing a lot of double and tripling down, which is fine. Makes the lines very bright for all to see. We'll hear from some of those leading lights at 6:36.
But first, let's stop by that newsroom once again. Here's Mike Scott.
62 degrees. We've had some light rain showers overnight. Cloudy skies right now. Prosecutors in President-elect Donald Trump's New York hush money case are now set to tell the court today how they think things should shake out after the election. Last week, the judge delayed a ruling on Trump's argument for presidential immunity. The G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro wraps up today. President Biden is there. Today marks 1,000 days since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Russian troops poured into that country on February 24th, 2022. A travel writer who revolutionized budget travel has died. Here's Fox's Carmen Roberts.
Arthur Frommer, who showed generations how to tour Europe on $5 a day with that revolutionizing budget travel book, dies at age 95. Frommer began writing about travel while serving in the U.S. Army in Europe in the 1950s and launched what became one of the travel industry's best-known brands by self-publishing that first book in 1957. He remained a well-known travel figure into the 21st century, and his brand, led today by his daughter Pauline, remains one of the best-known names in the travel industry, with guidebooks, an influential social media presence, podcasts, and a radio show. Carmen Roberts, Fox News.
Frommer's daughter said he died from complications due to pneumonia. Family and friends said an emotional goodbye to the Chicago police officer killed in the line of duty earlier this month. A funeral held yesterday for Officer Enrique Martinez.
He was murdered on a cold, dark, forgotten street. You may not know it, but that night, my brother saved countless lives.
Martinez's brother, Adrian, a retired Chicago police officer, seriously wounded following a shooting in the North Center community. The 74-year-old was exiting his vehicle yesterday morning in the 2000 block of West Berthoud when two suspects fired in his direction. Alderman Matt Martin.
It's an absolutely horrific thing that happened, and that shouldn't happen anywhere, any time of day or night.
The victim suffered 2 gunshot wounds and was taken to a nearby hospital in critical condition. One of those suspects is in custody. The other remains in the wind. Bulls knocked down 23 three-pointers in a 122-112 road win over the Pistons in Motown. Nikola Vucevic led the team with 29 points and 12 rebounds. Blackhawks host Anaheim at the UC tonight. Monday Night Football, Houston crushed Dallas 34-10. The news, a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over if you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP. You could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify. AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
German pastor Dietrich Bonhoeffer joined a deadly plot to assassinate Adolf Hitler during World War II. And now his story of risking his life to save others is coming to theaters November 22nd. Win a trip to New York to meet Bonhoeffer scholar Eric Metaxas and see a Broadway show by entering today at 560theanswer.com/NYC. That's 560theanswer.com/NYC. And get your tickets today to see Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin in theaters November 22nd.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. For the first time ever, you'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to king-size for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever and receive free shipping on orders over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. They have never been offered this low before. They're limited quantities at this price, so the limit is going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88, the lowest price ever.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from HealthInsuranceMentors.com is someone I know and trust.
He's a 30-year licensed broker
who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit HealthInsuranceMentors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. 630-674-1551.
If you have high blood pressure, listen to this story. Ira was given a grim diagnosis about his blood pressure. His doctor warned it's sky high. If he didn't get it down in 3 weeks, he was going to need surgery. So Ira began exercising, went on medication. But what seemed to be the miracle change, his diet. After thorough research and consulting with a nutritionist friend, Ira concocted a juice from foods that work like natural blood pressure medicines. 2 weeks later, his blood pressure dropped 30 points. What helped save Ira's life, amazed his doctor, is now available to you. Ira and his nutritionist founded 120 Life, a delicious juice and powdered mix with natural ingredients that have shown to lower blood pressure. Try it yourself risk-free with a 2-week trial pack. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now, 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
6:39, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Lowe's. Shop early, save big all month long during Black Friday build-up at Lowe's. A free select tool when you buy a select battery or combo kit because Lowe's knows deals. Valid 11/7 through 11/20. Selection varies by location while supplies last. Tons of problems. 31 minutes on your inbound Edens commute already from Lake Cook Road to Montrose. The Kennedy, right now 65 minutes and climbing into the Circle. Things on the Stevenson slowing up. Inbound 1st Avenue to Kedzie. I-57 in the Bishop Ford, very slow into the Ryan Merge. DuSable Lakeshore Drive northbound shut down due to an accident between Hyde Park and 47. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Rain this early morning, cloudy, breezy, and mild for the afternoon, high 62. 41 overnight. Tomorrow, cloudy, breezy, and colder, a high of 48. 31 tomorrow night. Thursday, snow. 62 right now. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The left is doing some searching for a soul now, we're supposed to believe.
Right, whatever. No amnesty from
I'm
this
not
chick over here.
Well, I'm not picking any real searching for a soul going on. And by the way, it is searching for a soul, not soul searching, because we're talking about people like Adam Schiff and Jen Psaki and others. We can go from coast to coast. Do you want to go left to right or right to left?
I'd like to go right to left, please.
All right, well, let's
If
start
you
in
don't
California
mind.
then.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
California, Adam Schiff.
The new senator. Hey.
Newly minted. Well, right. California has found it's impossible to course correct, just like Illinois. Just like to a lesser extent, New York. I feel like New York is on the come, not California or Illinois. Adam Schiff sat down with Jake Tapper, asked about whether or not all these disruptors that are in charge now, whether he feels any responsibility for creating an environment where Trump could stage the greatest comeback since Lazarus. And here's what Adam Schiff said.
And I'm wondering about how much anybody in Washington is being introspective at all about why there is this kind of opening for disruptors, if not necessarily these individuals. You were censured in the House last year for, in their view, holding positions of power during the Trump presidency as chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, and according to them, quote, abusing this trust by saying there was evidence of collusion between Trump's campaign and Russia. And I wonder if you are feeling at all introspective at all about that was, according to the Mueller report and according to your Republican colleagues, an overstatement. And I wonder if you think in any way you help set the table for these disruptors.
You know, first of all, it wasn't an overstatement. There is evidence of collusion. The Trump campaign manager was meeting with Russian intelligence and giving them internal polling data, just to give you one example.
Can't let it go.
And the Mueller report sets all this out.
It does say, quote, the investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities, which doesn't mean that he didn't, that there weren't meetings, but they didn't find evidence.
Mueller says that too. He says the fact that we didn't find proof beyond a reasonable doubt doesn't mean there wasn't evidence of conspiracy or coordination. So, but look, that's not what people were voting on.
Oh, really? Hey, but the Russian collusion hoax lives. It will always live in the heart of Adam Schiff. It will live in the place where his soul is supposed to be. But he's not the only one.
Oh, no.
That's Adam Schiff on the Russian collusion hoax.
That he can't give up. Okay.
Moving from left to right, your mom's home state governor.
Oh, she's such a bimbo. I mean, do you know she has a twin sister who's very communicative? She's great in front of a camera, and then I don't know what happened to her sister.
Well, maybe there's a Dave thing going on in the Hobbs household. I don't know. But Katie Hobbs was asked about whether or not she will comply with the border security program of the Trump administration. And she sort of did a version of Jelly Belly's "Come Through Me." Her catchphrase is "Not on my watch."
Would you, as governor, allow state police and National Guard to carry out mass deportations?
We will not be participating in misguided efforts that harm our communities, and I've been incredibly clear about that.
So you disagree with mass deportations and the fact that the president-elect says that's what he's going to be working on day one?
Well, I think that those efforts are going to divert needed resources that we need here on these drug interdiction and smuggling and trafficking efforts to keep harm out of our communities. We need those resources here, and the coming here today and seeing this operation firsthand just underscores that working in partnership here is how we can best secure the border.
What would worry you the most, Governor, about mass deportations?
Well, I think the diversion of law enforcement from their the work that they do every day to keep our communities safe. People hiding in fear. We saw that under previous state policies here, and it harms communities. It tears families apart, and that's not gonna happen on my watch.
Oh, she's so forceful, isn't she? I mean, this is the reason why, everybody, that she did not debate Carrie Lake, that she campaigned from her basement. She never went on local news.
So,
interviewing a toddler.
Interestingly, because when we get around to the other coast, you're going to hear a very similar answer from Michelle Wu, who of Barrington's very own. She's the mayor of Boston. She's supposed to be smart. She went to Harvard. You're going to hear the very same answer, a version of it, maybe with a little less dits to it, but the same sort of thing. Divert resources. It's better to work in partnership. So there is a partnership going on between local and state law enforcement to interdict smuggling and drug trafficking in Arizona. So if that partnership makes sense, wouldn't a partnership with the federal government also make sense, make even more sense? More resources brought to bear, less redundancy when it comes to interdicting drug trafficking and smuggling. People hiding in fear? You mean people in this country who are fearful of being deported because they're here illegally? What is that? That doesn't even make any sense. The diversion of resources. Diversion of resources from where? We're talking about federal resources being brought to bear on behalf of the residents of Arizona. Of course, you don't get pushback from that pro forma newsreader that's just running down a list of questions to which Katie Hobbs can offer these talking points, and barely at that. But nonetheless, I mean, give me a break. This is what they have, though. That's my point, to say that there's some real pivoting being contemplated. No, there isn't.
Before we get to the East Coast or to Boston, let's stop in the Midwest. Our Mayor Johnson was asked that question yesterday about, what's going to happen if the military comes into the city and, completes mass deportations.
As a black man,
he's black.
why would I cooperate with agents that are looking to terrorize people? And so here's what I'm recommending to the president.
Oh, he's going to tell Trump what to do. Listen.
That the city of Chicago is the greatest city in the world.
Oh, we are.
He has an opportunity to actually figure out how to unite this country. There are working people in this city that are afraid, scared. How could someone be that comfortable knowing that he is causing that type of fear and terror? That can't come from government leadership. That looks a lot like some of the things that I would teach when I was a social studies teacher.
And not give homework or tests.
And it looks like a really nasty form of government that would isolate people. It's that type of mindset that not only enslaved people, but it sent people to gas chambers.
Oh my.
So we're going to defend people. We're going to make sure that we're protecting families in this city. So he can help with that, or
get out of the way.
So, I mean, just to be clear, so Brandon Johnson, this is not unusual. Brandon Johnson just called Customs and Border Patrol and ICE agents terrorists. And they're again, Hitler trumps SS. And I guess Tom Homan is Goebbels. I mean, just to continue the metaphor.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
Michelle Wu, Barrington's very own.
Barrington Broncos.
Harvard educated.
What will Boston's response be if these mass deportations take place?
Yeah, look, elections have consequences, and the federal government is responsible for a certain set of actions, and no individual city can reverse or override some parts of that. But what we can do is make sure that we are doing our part to protect our residents in every possible way, that we are not cooperating with those efforts that actually threaten the safety of everyone by causing widespread fear and having large-scale economic impact.
What does economic impact have to do with public safety? First of all, number two, I'm sorry, doing everything in our power to protect public safety, would removing people in this country illegally who've committed crimes, would it include that? Would it include finding the 300,000 children that the Department of Homeland Security lost under the current administration? Would it include that as part? Is that part of your vision for public safety, Mayor Wu? I'm telling you, There is, the idea that you're going to see even a little bit of movement, much a 180 from these sanctuary city and sanctuary state politicians, a fight every inch of the way. And it's not just BLM Brandon that is continuing on completely unabated with the Hitler comparisons. Jim Clyburn, Joe Biden's sponsor, the congresswoman from South Carolina, had this to say on Cavuto yesterday.
But now they are seeing it.
Well, how are we seeing it? He's not president yet. I mean, are you visiting another Hitler? Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I said the 1930s in Germany.
Yes, you did.
And, of course, and we can go to Mussolini in Italy.
Sure. Yeah.
These things.
So you don't think that's a little hyperbolic?
No, you may think so.
Okay.
I'll tell you what's hyperbolic is asking the Senate to approve all your nominees without any vetting. That's what's hyperbolic.
Well, that's your hyperbole. not Trump's, but okay. It just continues. How about the land of the rich men north of Richmond? Jen,
Let it breathe. Let it cook. Keep going. You're almost there.
Psaki. She manning the MSNBC desk. She wants Dems to double down on boys and girls sports and the whole rest of the trans advocacy agenda. It was just a marketing campaign. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars on a marketing campaign. That's the only reason that this non-issue in her parlance became an issue.
I mean, immediately after the election, Congressman Seth Moulton told the New York Times that, quote, Democrats spend way too much time trying not to offend anyone rather than being brutally honest about the challenges many Americans face. I have 2 little girls. I don't want them getting run over on a playing field by a male or formerly male athlete. But as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that. And then last weekend, Congressman Moulton came on this network to discuss those comments.
I was just speaking authentically as a dad about one of many issues where I think we're just out of touch with the majority of voters. And I stand by my position. Maybe I didn't get all the words exactly right. But the point is that the backlash I've received proves my point that we can't even have these discussions as a party.
Look, reflection is good. But if that were actually an issue at thousands of schools across the country, it would be worthy of a debate. But there are just incredibly few examples of transgender girls playing in youth sports. And when we see those examples, there isn't evidence that these kids are a threat to safety or fairness.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Seth Moulton, who's a Democrat, saying, speaking authentically as a father. Do you really need authentically? Do you ever speak inauthentically? Well, of course you do, which is why you need to use the word authentically. It's just one of those words that, those cant words that politicians use. So annoying. Almost as annoying as Katie Hobbs. But Jen Psaki, if this was going on in thousands of schools, then it'd be worthy of a debate. Oh, so if it just happens to Riley Gaines and her teammates at University of Kentucky, where they get robbed of their ability to compete and to win, they have essentially a title taken away from them, as Riley Gaines did.
An NCAA title. I mean, they worked their whole lives for that final match.
Or any. And this is like the right to vote. I mean, not on that. I'm just making an analogy. The idea that if it happens once, it's not a big deal. It's not systemic, so we don't pay attention. If just one girl gets severely injured by a boy playing sports, that's not a big deal. Right, so we're just supposed to let it go. Just turn your back because, there's some larger, more important play, and we're going to have to sacrifice some girls along the way. That's the philosophy of Jen Psaki, and you know what? That's the philosophy of her party, and stay the course. Jen Psaki and Michelle Wu and Katie Hobbs and Brandon Johnson and Jim Clyburn, stay the course. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Michael Alfaro, host of The Michael Alfaro Show. Join me each week as we tackle the issues you want to know more about, like foreign and national policies, how big money influences Washington, D.C., and so much more. Learn firsthand from elected officials and political insiders about the important policy decisions changing our world. Find me at michaelafaroshow.com and then join me, Michael Alfaro, every Saturday evening at 7, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Protecting and growing your retirement assets can be complicated. From asset and legacy protection to retirement income and extended care, you need a plan. Mark Kohler, host of Retirement and Income Radio, heard Sundays at 11 a.m., helps retirees in or near retirement protect their accounts from market volatility. Mark can help you create lifetime guaranteed inflation-hedged income. Call Mark today at 844-619-SAFE. That's 844-619-7233. And listen this Sunday at 11 a.m. to Retirement and Income Radio.
AM 560, The Answer.
That sound means it's time for In-Depth History with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world, just the history we don't know, and Frank does. Frank, take it away.
Good morning. Yo, Adrian, guess what? We got the second George Washington. So said Sylvester Stallone, sort of at a gala for Trump at Mar-a-Lago the other night. Now, my first cinematic experience with Stallone was at the Pickwick Theater in 1982 when he starred along with Mr. T in Rocky III. But my favorite Stallone flick was a few months later in First Blood, where he plays a Vietnam vet, John Rambo, who's mistreated by the police. And my favorite scene in that film was when he was backed up against the cliff's edge and starts climbing down. To avoid getting shot by the officer in the helicopter, he free falls 100-plus feet into several pine trees, which miraculously breaks his fall, so John Rambo fights on. Amazingly, a young Winston Churchill in 1893, aged 18, was playing hares and hounds with friends and was escaping capture by crossing a bridge over a ravine. He then sees opponents on the other side and decides mid-bridge to jump over the side onto a pine tree, expecting it to break his fall. This was England, though, not Hollywood, so of course it doesn't work, and he falls 29 feet. He was unconscious for 3 days, and his recovery took 3 months. Luckily, Churchill survived, so he could later inspire the Brits to never surrender in 1940. Of course, Winston would never have even existed had Prince Edward not approved his father's marriage to American Jenny Jerome. Winston wasn't given much parental love, yet he persevered and became first Sea Lord at age 36 and had to fight its bureaucracy in a critical pre-war period. Today, Pete Hegseth is 44, Matt Gaetz 42. They aim to fix our most intractable bureaucratic problems too. Thankfully, Trump seems determined to ensure that they get to serve.
I mean, the Churchill impersonation, it wasn't Gary Oldman, but not bad. All right.
Yeah. No, I'm just kind of like, he didn't, my understanding is he didn't actually say that speech, when he was going, we'll fight you on the land, we'll fight you at sea. That was actually a radio personality who mimicked him from what I've heard, from what I've read on that. So it wasn't actually him. So you're right, it wasn't Gary Oldman. I liked him in Dracula. That was a good movie.
Oh, he's been the professional. I mean, Gary Oldman is brilliant. And the Stallone, not bad. I mean, it's a little contrived at this point. It's right, but yeah, it's pretty good. That was fun seeing Stallone at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah,
right.
No, it's nice that he's got some celebrities on his side. Some of the ones we remember from our day.
Yeah. So. And he had to go back to Tulsa to run the business. All right, his latest venture. Frank from Arlington Heights, our very own first Sea Lord. Thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
7:07, we'll talk about Gaetz and other appointees, including Hegseth, Andy McCarthy's friend, who he has vouched for, with the aforesaid former federal prosecutor Andy McCarthy at 7:07.
Today, a little rain early this morning, mostly cloudy. It will be breezy, continued mild, a high of 62 degrees. It is now 7 a.m., WIND, Chicago.
Democrats push back on mass deportations. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
I will not tolerate actions that harm Arizonans, that harm our communities.
Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs and other leaders on the left oppose President-elect Trump's plan that includes declaring a national emergency and using military assets to remove some immigrants here illegally. Trump's appointed border czar, Tom Homan, reacted to the Democrats, telling Fox this morning,
"Are you telling me that you don't want public safety threats out of your communities? That is your number one responsibility, to protect your community. So smarten up and work with us."
President-elect Trump has picked someone else from Fox for his cabinet, nominating Sean Duffy to be his transportation secretary. Duffy is also a former congressman from Wisconsin. This is the 1,000th day of Russia's war in Ukraine.
Putin is focused on winning this war.
He will not stop on his own.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky addressing European Parliament this morning, asking for more support. Days after President Biden authorized Ukraine's use of American long-range missiles to fire deeper into Russia, and the Russians claim that Ukraine has launched 6 of those today, prompting Russian leader Vladimir Putin to up the nuclear ante.
Now, Russia's nuclear doctrine states it could consider using nuclear weapons in the face of a conventional assault supported by a nuclear power. The updated doctrine also says aggression against Russia by a state that's part of a coalition would be considered aggression by the entire coalition. That could be seen as a reference to NATO.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. There is fallout in Hong Kong from China's crackdown on a democracy movement. 45 activists and ex-lawmakers sent to prison under a law that China forced upon Hong Kong. A homeless man with a criminal record and mental health issues is in custody, suspected in 3 deadly stabbings, appearing to pick people randomly. The first was a construction worker, the second a man fishing in the East River, the third a woman attacked on a sidewalk. America's listening to Fox News.
Skies are cloudy. We have 62 degrees. At 7:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Family and friends said an emotional goodbye to the Chicago police officer killed in the line of duty earlier this month. A funeral held yesterday for Officer Enrique Martinez. Superintendent Larry Snelling says each time a police officer's life is taken, it gets harder for him.
That this will never happen again, and I can only pray for that. But we know what the risks are as we take to the streets every single day.
Both Mayor Brandon Johnson and Governor J.B. Pritzker were asked not to attend the funeral. A retired Chicago police officer seriously wounded following a shooting in the North Center neighborhood.
There was like 3 gunshots, bang, 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 and you just knew that it was gunfire.
A 74-year-old remains in critical condition after exiting his vehicle yesterday morning in the 2000 block of West Bertaux when suspects fired in his direction. One of those suspects remains on the loose. A well-respected area endocrinologist is dead following a domestic-related shooting in Barrington. Olga Duchan of Vernon Hills was found shot Sunday in a Barrington home. The incident is under investigation. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is coming up with a new plan to try and help close a huge budget gap. The Sun-Times is reporting that only days after the city council rejected the mayor's proposed $300 million property tax hike, he wants to cut that property tax increase in half. Bulls knocked down 23 three-pointers in a 122-112 win over Detroit in Motown. Nikola Vucevic had 29, while Zach LaVine and Kobe White scored 25 each. Chicago's in Milwaukee tomorrow night. Longtime Bulls player and franchise great Bob Love has died at the age of 81 after a long battle with cancer. Monday Night Football, Houston crushed Dallas 34-10. College hoops tonight. Northwestern takes on Montana State. DePaul battles Eastern Illinois, and Loyola will welcome Southern Utah. The news, a service of Balance of Nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule. Save 35% off your first preferred order with promo code Chicago. Order online at balanceofnature.com to save 35% as a preferred customer. Hurry, offer ends soon. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka is still living on the high.
It still doesn't sink in. I catch myself several times a day just wanting to shout the words, he won. I don't think it's sunk in quite yet because so many people work so very, very hard. How do we know that? Because she lost over 10 million votes by comparison to Joe Biden.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
As a business owner, do you have a strategy for exiting your business? Most business owners don't. Studies done by the Exit Planning Institute show 75% of business owners who don't have an exit plan are dissatisfied with their exit, and 80% of businesses put to market never sell. Total Clarity Wealth Management understands the hesitation to discuss exiting. Will customers leave? Will competitors take advantage? Will key employees leave? That's why they offer confidential planning. Contact Anne Marie at Total Clarity Wealth Management. Discover what the financial foundation should be to pursue an exit that is satisfying. At some point, you are going to leave your business. Will it be on your terms? Total Clarity can show you the way to financial readiness and keep you on track. Anne Marie is a certified exit planning advisor. Visit TotalClarityBusiness.com. That's TotalClarityBusiness.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Total Clarity Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial.
Life takes a toll on our bodies. No way around it. Whether it's sitting hours on end at your computer or working a physical job, over time, your body pays the price. There is, however, an effective way to turn back the clock on pain. Relief Factor. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor helps support your body's response to inflammation. The difference, instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it for good, and it's 100% drug-free. If the pains that come with living a full life are affecting you, do as so many others have. Turn back the clock on pain with Relief Factor. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. When you feel good, it's amazing how much more you get out of life. So visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Try it for only $19.95. While we can't stop aging, not yet, we can stop pain. Turn back the clock with Relief Factor.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I love it. Everything that people say on the television about it is absolutely true. As a matter of fact, my boyfriend giving him some of my Balance of Nature. He went and bought his own now.
I've been taking it for a pretty good while now, and I really like it. It makes me feel really good. I feel like I'm taking a product, that's not some kind of gimmick.
I've been a very happy customer.
I think it's wonderful stuff.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
7:08, let's get an update on the roads. We do that in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center and the inbound Kennedy a mess. 70 minutes O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike right now inbound jams up from Mannheim into the old post office. 47 in from Mannheim. Traveling on the Stevenson this morning, 55 minutes in from 355. Inbound from Harlem to Kedzie are on the brakes. Car in the ditch, I-57. Northbound, it's on the off-ramp to I-80 this morning. Accident right shoulder on the Tri-State northbound, right at Dempster. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Some rain in the area early this morning, otherwise clouds and breezy. A high today 62, partly cloudy tonight, low 41. Clouds breezy and cool, shower tomorrow, the high 48. Clouds windy and cool, showers could mix with snow early Thursday, the high 41. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
We have 62 and clouds at O'Hare. Your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Much to get through with Andy McCarthy. But before we get to all of the appointments and the palace and legal intrigue surrounding them, potentially, I did want to go back to the Daniel Penny case, since Daniel Penny is currently on trial for his life, effectively. Daniel Penny, of course, the Marine who restrained somebody that was making threats and otherwise instilling fear in New York City subway goers. That person unfortunately died, and Penny was charged by the infamous Alvin Bragg with manslaughter. So he's on trial, and I haven't seen all the evidence, but I thought this was interesting and probative. The custodial interview of Daniel Penny after he was taken in following, as part of the New York Police Department's investigation. And importantly, when they were asking him about what happened, he did not know, Penny didn't at the time, that the person he restrained had died.
NYPD Detective Brian McCarthy, who interviewed Penny. McCarthy testified he didn't tell Penny that Neely had died during that 5th Precinct interrogation. And when Penny was questioned about why he decided to get involved in the first place, he said,
I'm not a confrontational guy. In the Marine Corps, I felt the need to step in. Yeah. There's women and children on the train.
Did you feel like someone's life was in danger?
100%.
As a Marine, felt the need to step in, not a confrontational guy. Did you feel like someone's life was in danger? 100%. And he wasn't just saying that in a contrived fashion to say, well, I felt someone's life is in danger, so that's the reasonable man standard, and this is why I acted, knowing that the person he restrained had died. He was saying that just from, I think, fairly interpreted, just from the perspective of that's what he really believed. I wanted to update some of the evidence presented, including audio we hadn't heard before, as we watch very closely that case, because it does have important implications, particularly in big cities that have platformed lawlessness. Andy McCarthy is former chief assistant U.S. attorney, contributing editor at National Review, and author of the bestseller Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Dan, thanks for that update on Penny. I'm wondering, because I haven't been able to follow this as closely as I followed the beginning of it, but I haven't day-to-day followed it. I don't know if the jury's being told that, Penny was speculating because he couldn't have known this, but this guy who he restrained had punched a woman in the face and caused multiple fractures and just gotten out of Rikers Island after doing about 2 years in Rikers.
Right.
So it wasn't like one of these things where you were trying to, if you knew everything, he wouldn't have known that. But it just goes to show how reasonable it was, because this isn't someone that you might have to speculate would do something terrible to hurt someone.
Yeah, but could you get that into
a long track record of it?
Could you get that into evidence?
I'm sure the defense is trying very hard to get it into evidence. And I bet, I wish I knew the answer. It wasn't until you just played that I even thought of it. And unfortunately, I won't help you because I'll look it up after we're done. But to me, that's a big
prosecution is rested in
deal.
the case, so maybe they'll bring it up now.
Yeah, but here's.
Yeah, but I don't know the record well enough, Amy, to say whether it came in or not. I just don't know.
No, I know, but wouldn't it be more likely than not that that would be prejudicial, and the admission of prior bad acts would not be allowed in?
Yeah, what the prosecutors would say is that it can't have informed Penny's intent in any way because he didn't know about it.
Right.
And the defense would say, well, but it's relevant to the reasonableness of his conclusion that people's lives were in danger. And if I'm the prosecutor, I would say, we stipulate that he thought that people's lives were in danger. I would agree with that, because their theory, as I understand it, is that he held them in the chokehold for too long, so that it was either reckless or negligent. So you don't have to fight the battle on whether he reasonably thought that this guy was a threat to people. What you have to say is that he overdid it in responding.
But what we learned from the trial, 2 days ago, we learned that when paramedics arrived, there was still a pulse. And they did not perform CPR. So how does that play into all of this?
Yeah, well, I thought that in the George Floyd case, the cop in that case got railroaded in the sense that it certainly seemed to me that there was reasonable doubt about whether all the drugs in Floyd's system were at least as responsible for what happened to Floyd, especially when you saw that he really didn't die from the chokehold or the knee on the neck or any of that stuff. And I think it's the same thing in this case. This guy, he had all kinds of medical problems. And, when you put yourself, as this guy did, in a high stress situation, and you have all those deadly drugs in your system, if I'm a juror, there's got to be at least reasonable doubt as to whether there's an alternative cause. And it seems to me that the important thing for Penny is I think he acted reasonably, and to me, the evidence that he acted reasonably is very strong. To the point I think you guys are making, this case, in a sense, for people like Alvin Bragg, has already served its purpose, because the point here, it almost doesn't matter what happens to Penny, right? The point here is the left, the progressives who are running New York, telling people, if you dare intervene under these circumstances, especially in a racially charged type situation, which they will make racially charged even if it wasn't racially charged when it happened, that we are going to come after you like a ton of bricks. And what ends up happening is the Daniel Pennies. If you're a New York subway rider, I rode the subways in New York for decades. If you're a New York subway rider, what you hope in your life is that you have Daniel Penny on your train.
Right.
Everybody knows that. And if they found the 12 people in Manhattan who would convict that guy, then none of them rides the subway.
But just to be clear, in your view, this is a case that should never have been brought.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because the interorum effect on good people who would intervene, the old saying that, and we heard this a million times when I was a prosecutor, it's true. When every second counts, the cops are only minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of situations, you're going to have to hope that good, brave people intervene. And that's most situations in life. In most situations in life where crime is committed, violent crime is committed, a cop is not on the scene.
All right, let's move over to the cabinet. Before we get into Gaetz in particular, I saw you tweeted about Hegseth. He's the center of a smear campaign, unsurprisingly, and part of it may have been self-inflicted, the way that at least it's being reported, that he forgot to disclose and the Trump vetters didn't ask. I mean, I don't know how you don't know this, but about a settlement on a civil sexual harassment claim from 2017. His lawyer has spoken on his behalf, saying that he rejects the accusation, but because it was in the middle of the Me Too era and he was concerned about losing his job at Fox just with the idea of an allegation, he settled for some fraction of what was demanded of him and so forth. But you vouched for him on X after he was nominated, and I just want sort of your firsthand perspective on Pete Hegseth. I think it'd be interesting to hear.
Well, I think he's a great American patriot. I'm offended by the idea that people try to marginalize and dismiss him as a media commentator. I'm especially amused that the people who did that were themselves media
yeah,
who all want to be taken very seriously, right? But I guess because he's on Fox, that somehow changes that equation. But he's a very thoughtful guy. When I met him, by the way, it was before he had anything to do with Fox, and it was in connection with an organization that does a lot of important work on foreign policy and national security stuff. He's a very thoughtful guy. I hate the credential business, but as long as they play this game, he's Harvard and Princeton educated. And I thought the big rap on him, and I completely understand this, I think it's fair game to ask him about this, is he's never run a big organization before. Mm-hmm. But you tell me who can run the Pentagon. Because as long as I've been alive, which unfortunately is getting to be a very long time, although I guess it's better than the alternative. But the Pentagon has never been run well by anyone. It's had nothing but procurement scandals and overspending and the left hand not knowing what the right hand was doing, intelligence failures that would blow your mind. So now suddenly we're worried about whether he can run a big organization. Tell me who's run the big organization that's done a great job at it.
I don't know. Whoever the last guy was that actually passed an audit. So what century was that? I hear what you're saying.
Don Rumsfeld was a very able guy, and even his career even is a good indication. Like, he had a very distinct idea of what, like, a lightning quick, fast military, and he was trying to change it in that direction. And then right after he finished a quadrennial report, I think it was September 4th, 2001, 9/11 happened. And suddenly we need a heavy footprint military, exactly the opposite of what he was trying to build. So, it's a very complicated job, and I don't think that anyone has mastered it because it's just a beast. It's enormous.
It's 3 million employees. So do you think that this is going to hurt his chances of being confirmed?
Yeah, of course it is, but I still think he could be confirmed. I think, Clarence Thomas had a very tough confirmation. I heard Ann Coulter, I think, is the one who brilliantly said this. The people we want are the people who get confirmed, like 53-47.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that the people who get confirmed 99. Like, look, Scalia got confirmed 99-0, like the greatest justice of my lifetime and a lot of our lifetimes. So I'm not saying it never works out, but I don't. The fact that somebody gets confirmed 53-47 usually means that they've taken strong stands in their life. And if the people who object are all the right people, then I'm fine with that.
Well, more so now than ever, too. I mean, it's a much different environment than it was when Scalia was confirmed. So Gaetz and all this sort of public theorizing about recess appointments and the Federal Vacancies Act. I wish Trump would intercede and just say, look, the people of this country, American citizens, put us in charge in the White House and Congress. They want us to do very specific things. So we need to exercise the power they have generously conferred upon us, move my appointments through John Thune and Republican senators, and let's get busy moving those flags that we were sent to Washington to move, and just leave it at that.
Well, I mean, if he says that they sent the president and Congress there, that implies that Congress has a job to do, and
yes,
what they're supposed to do is vet people to see if they're worthy candidates. And I don't think that Gaetz is a worthy candidate. But if the point is that Trump can't find a single person who is loyal to him, who could get confirmed in a 53-47 Republican Senate, who would go into the Justice Department and do the kind of things that need to be done in the Justice Department, I just think that's ridiculous.
Well, why?
He needs Gaetz to do it?
No,
you gotta be kidding me.
Well,
come on.
Well, but now let's apply the Hegseth standard to Gaetz. I mean, with respect to admittedly a relatively thin resume as a practicing attorney, but nonetheless someone that has demonstrated, at least through congressional hearings, he's a pretty good interrogator, and even some on the other side, including Moskowitz, part of the Florida congressional delegation, Democrat, say that he's a sharp guy and he's a capable guy. So why not the same bandwidth for Gaetz that you give Hegseth?
Hegseth is a combat veteran with 2 Bronze Stars, who did 3 combat tours and has been working on veterans issues for 15 years. How does that even compare to Gaetz? It's not even close.
Well, I'm talking about experience running a large organization, right? I mean, I'm saying no one can run that organization. Well, so what's the infirmary? What's the specific?
What's the case?
What's the case for? I'll give you the case for Gaetz. The case for Gaetz is that he is being sent to do something that is not dissimilar to some of the other nominees for cabinet posts, which is to change the culture in the Department of Justice, to deliver a reckoning, and very much like Gabbard, Trump wants to send somebody into that agency who has been targeted by that agency, arguably, perhaps unfairly, and like Gabbard with the open skies and being on a watch list. But my point is to say, and one other thing. The other thing is the suggestion that Gaetz is not particularly well liked, and so doesn't have favorites, and that he will just do what needs to be done to whom it needs to be done inside justice.
What's the evidence that Gaetz was targeted unfairly? Gaetz was investigated by the Trump Justice Department. All that stuff about the leaks, those leaks didn't come from the FBI. I love that story. The leaks came from the defense lawyer for the accomplice who they were investigating and who was trying to inflate Gaetz's importance because that was important to him in terms of whatever slice he was going to get off his sentence. But they had abundant basis to investigate Gaetz, and he got investigated very fairly. He was investigated by the Trump Justice Department, who didn't say boo about it, and then the Biden-Harris Justice Department, on what looks to me like it was a very close call, decided not to bring charges against him on grounds of knowledge, basically like whether he knew the fact about the woman who was in question that made that problematic. But he didn't get unfairly prosecuted. He had the most fair investigation in the history of investigation.
Well,
there's abundant basis to there's abundant basis to investigate him criminally.
Well, I mean, number one, I think there's still there's questions about the credibility of those witnesses. I don't know. They testified before the House Ethics Committee, and I obviously don't have the complete record, so I have no idea. But given the nature of the witness,
see the report. Then don't you agree? We should see the report. Then.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. But I mean, but I mean, the credibility of the witnesses is an issue. That's number one. Number two, I still have questions about the concurrent investigation that involved that guy who tried to extort Gaetz's father for money on the promise of a pardon for Gaetz. Then Gaetz's father goes to the FBI. That guy gets charged, and he's awaiting sentencing. So I just like how all of those pieces fit together, the things that are happening concurrently. It just is a little bit confusing to me, in part because, we don't have the complete records on these things.
I totally agree with that, but I think, that's another circumstance where it looks to me like Gaetz was treated pretty fairly. The government bought his story, they investigated, and they prosecuted the guy who did it. I agree. If these are relevant facts, they should come in. And I'm not saying that if Trump wants to run with Gaetz, that Gaetz is a nominee like everyone else. He ought to have a confirmation investigation. He ought to have a confirmation hearing. I just don't want to. I think it's ridiculous to have a fugazi process to get somebody through who's unconfirmable. If you want to run with him as a nominee in the regular course, then put him up there and let the Senate make a vote.
Well, if not him,
I agree
who
with
do you
that.
want to see in that position?
Oh, I think there's a million. First of all, I think Todd Blanche, who's going to be the deputy, would be fine. Someone like Matt Whitaker would be fine. There's a number of people who are in Trump's orbit who know the Justice Department well, which Gaetz doesn't. Who are experienced lawyers, which Gaetz isn't. I'm just as concerned because I'm one of these people who's actually thought about what's wrong with the Justice Department for a number of years and thought about how you reshape the FBI. I worry about somebody like Gaetz. Even if I liked him and I had no concerns about his background, the Justice Department will eat you alive if you don't know where the levers are. And he doesn't. And I don't think he can go in there and do what has to be done. Not that he doesn't want to, just I don't think it's in his wheelhouse. Yeah. And I don't mean that as I have a number of things that I could say about Gaetz that you might call barbs, but I don't mean that as one of them. I just don't think he's not. You want somebody to go in there and do the things that have to be done. For example, marginalize people in the civil rights division.
Yeah.
Figure out where the problems are, the people who are embedded in, who are civil service protected as opposed to political appointees. FISA reform, whether the FBI ought to be doing foreign counterintelligence rather than cops and robbers stuff. All that kind of stuff. That's all got to be done. And I want to see it done as much as anybody else does who's watched the Justice Department closely. I just don't think this is the guy.
Well, me too. But I mean, what about the idea that, so talking about Whitaker and talking about Blanche and perhaps others, you surround him with people and then you've got a DOJ, you've got an AG that isn't going to be putting a wet blanket on people who do know the path to the reforms, the structural reforms that are required. You have somebody that will back the play of the practitioners who know as opposed to being a bottleneck at the secretary level. And he'll have a team around him that does know the landscape.
I just think I just ask myself, as somebody who has like a once in a lifetime opportunity to come in and do this stuff, why would you not want to have the best people? Why would you bring a problem in? The Justice Department works. It really matters who the Attorney General is. You know, if the Attorney General is Mike Mukasey, the Justice Department works one way. If it's Merrick Garland, it works a different way. It always matters who the Attorney General is, and I don't think that the goal shouldn't be to take somebody who's subpar and put them in the most important position and then put a bunch of strong people around them and hope that works out. How about getting a strong person to be the boss?
Andy McCarthy, former Chief Assistant U.S. Attorney and contributing editor at Nash Review, also the author of the bestseller Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thank you as always. Good discussion.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, time to turn our attention to all things Illinois policy related. Mark Glennon from WirePoints, wirepoints.org, joins us at 7:37.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
We're following breaking news in Ukraine this morning. The Russian Defense Ministry says that Ukraine has fired U.S.-made ATACMS missiles into Russia's Bryansk region. Statement this morning comes just days after President Joe Biden eased restrictions on Ukrainian use of American-made weapons of war. Ukraine saying it hit military weapons depots in Bryansk in the middle of the night. The Russian Defense Ministry saying in a claim that they shot down some of the ATACMS missiles. Neither side's claims can be officially verified. Prosecutors in President-elect Trump's New York criminal hush money case are set to tell the court today how they think things should proceed after the election. A suspect with a lengthy criminal history in New York and New Jersey will be in court today, following a deadly stabbing spree in New York City.
Police accuse Ramon Rivera of stabbing 3 people on Manhattan streets within about 2.5 hours of each other. A motive remains unclear. Police say he was just released a month ago for burglary and assault and has a history of mental health issues and criminal activity. Mayor Eric Adams.
There's some real questions that we need to look at on why he was on the street.
Police say there were no words exchanged between Rivera and the victims prior to all 3 of yesterday's attacks. Scott Pringle, NBC News Radio, New York.
L.A. could soon become a sanctuary city. The L.A. City Council slated to consider a sanctuary city ordinance today. Family and friends said an emotional goodbye to the Chicago police officer killed in the line of duty earlier this month. A funeral held yesterday for Officer Enrique Martinez.
He was murdered on a cold, dark, forgotten street. You may not know it, but that night, my brother saved countless lives.
Martinez's brother, Adrian. Darian McMillan has been charged in that killing. A retired Chicago police officer seriously wounded following a shooting in the North Center neighborhood.
There was like 3 gunshots, bang, 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 and you just knew that it was gunfire.
The 74-year-old was exiting his vehicle yesterday morning in the 2000 block of West Berthoud when the suspects fired in his direction. One suspect is now in custody. The other remains on the loose. Chicago sports, Bulls knocked down 23 three-pointers in a 122-112 win over the Pistons in Motown. Franchise great Bob Love has died. The longtime Bull is dead at the age of 81 after a long battle with cancer. College football tonight, Northern Illinois is at Miami of Ohio. Major League Baseball's Rookie of the Year awards going to a pair of pitchers, Pirate ace Paul Scanes and Yankees hurler Luis Gil. The news, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combining heritage and innovation in every cup. Hot air roasted locally, cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Online at papanicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
We have so much to be thankful for this year. Our family, our friends, our nation, and it's important that we take the opportunity to give thanks for the many blessings in our lives. That's why AM 560 The Answer wants to make sure you have a turkey on your table for Thanksgiving this year. We're giving away Butterball turkeys. To enter to win, just go to 560theanswer.com/turkey. That's 560theanswer.com/turkey.
It's Reveille. Illinoisans have a lot to be concerned about. The governor's own Office of Management and Budget expects spending to balloon over the next 5 years, accumulating budget deficits of $22 billion. 2 bills have been introduced to adjust Tier 2 pension benefits. Any adjustment will massively increase the unfunded liability and the annual pension payment. That pension payment last year was nearly 20% of the budget. Illinois is also facing energy deficits. At the same time, it is wrongfully incentivizing large energy users with tax subsidies to locate here. We also have the second highest unemployment rate in the nation. Instead of tackling these issues and more, Governor Pritzker is turning the land of Lincoln into the devil's playground. First, throughout the presidential campaign, Pritzker spent money with his Think Big America PAC to enshrine abortion rights in other states' constitutions, at the same time vowing to keep Illinois a mecca for abortion. In 7 of the 10 states that abortion referendum were on the ballot, abortion rights were expanded. Also to be noted, in Illinois, a second abortion clinic is opening up in Rockford. Last week, Pritzker picked a fight with Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, vowing to protect illegal immigrants from deportation. This week, he's doubling down on keeping Illinois a safe space for the sexual mutilation of children. His aggressive policies have given trans people superior rights to others, especially in our schools. Is this the type of governor Illinoisans wanted? It says a lot about voters that there isn't more pushback on his radical policies. But there's hope. The progressive agenda is ending. It may take longer in Illinois, but when NFL players are doing the Trump dance, you know Americans from all walks of life are waking up and are unafraid. I'm Jeannie Ives. Check out The Real Story with me Sunday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They're a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor or just click on the Give Life banner.
Is thinning hair or a receding hairline making you self-conscious? Try Hair Grow from New Nordic. Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start feeling your best with Hair Grow.
7:39. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Trimlight Chicago. You've got to see it to believe it. Amazing, customizable, and permanent holiday and year-round accent lighting for the exterior of your home or business. It's not too late to book your holiday installation, but do it today with Trimlight Chicago. South side of Vincennes Avenue, north and southbound, has just been reopened after a much earlier fatal accident between 77th and 79th. 4 other major injuries. The crash and an investigation remains on the scene, but traffic is crawling through that scene right now. I-80, an accident, left lane block, eastbound side between I-55 and Larkin. Tri-State accident, right shoulder, southbound, just north of St. Charles Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Rain early this morning, clouds for the afternoon, high 62. Currently 62. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. That theme music means it's time for our weekly confab with the wirepoints.org boys. We'll be talking to Mark Lennon, the founder, executive editor of Wirepoints, in a second. But I do want to take judicial notice of BLM Brandon, doing the hard work of governing.
Yeah.
After the defeat of his $300 million property tax, back to the drawing board. Hammering it out. We got to get around a table. We got to roll up our sleeves, and we have to get the job done.
For a better, stronger, safer Chicago. Wow.
So they proposed to cut the property tax increase in half, and then they're going to make up the other half by, raising the personal property lease tax on cloud computing. And then they're going to squeeze $14 million out of, quote-unquote, redundancies and efficiencies in administrative costs. I think that's redundancies and inefficiencies, but
right. Okay.
Whatever. Getting efficiencies. Boy, only $14 million? Man, that is a well-oiled machine when, 7, 8, how much is the city's budget? No, it's got to be more than that. 16, 20 billion? And only $14 million. They're just $14 million away from running on perfect efficiency. Another final $10 million generated raising the tax on streaming services from 9 to 10.5%.
My God.
I wonder
on your streaming services.
I wonder if can somebody get Alderman Marty Quinn on the phone too? If this deal is consummated, would that be another good day for Chicago taxpayers? Would that be another good day? These frackin' politicians and these simpletons that prop them up, it's remarkable. You want a lesson that should be in every New York City public school? And, I mean, this is a lesson for CPS and the region. But this is the doing the job from the left. This is so good. Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York State, incredibly, she's the governor of New York State. I guess you had nowhere to go but up when to replace Handsy Andy Cuomo. But talking about the congestion tax, they talk about taxes in New York. This is where Marty Quinn must have gotten it, just like Marty Quinn talks about them in Chicago. Any day they have an increase your taxes is a great day for Chicago taxpayers. Kathy Hochul explaining the congestion tax and how she saved New Yorkers money.
It is my job to make decisions that take into account the needs of all working New Yorkers. So I made the decision to put the congestion pricing program on pause while we devise a different path forward. State law requires that congestion pricing simultaneously raise money for the MTA and drive down traffic congestion. These are important priorities. But I believe that no New Yorker should have to pay a penny more than absolutely necessary to achieve these goals. And $15 was too much. And I'm proud to announce we have found a path to fund the MTA, reduce congestion, and keep millions of dollars in the pockets of our commuters. Under this plan, the MTA will implement a congestion pricing plan with a reduced daytime toll of $9 beginning in January.
She's my hero.
You heard that correctly. It was $15 before, and now it is $9. That is a 40% reduction. This lower toll will save daily commuters nearly $1,500 annually. And that kind of money makes a big difference for our families.
Do you understand what she did?
Yes.
The congestion tax there right now is 0. Right. It was proposed at 15. She's going to make it 9. That's a 40% reduction in the congestion tax. That's a windfall for taxpayers. So get ready for Brandon Johnson and the city council, Marty Quinn, to lead the celebration when they pass this newfangled budget. Say, the proposed property tax hike was $300 million. It's coming in $128 million. We saved you more than 50% on your property tax bill, which translates into a few $100 for Chicago taxpayers. That's a windfall for working families.
I know.
This is
That's how they
government.
spin it.
These are lessons in government math. I wish we had teachers in these government schools that would take these real world examples and do some math-splaining to the kids, because the adults in Chicago are lost. Remarkable. Mark Lennon, founder and executive editor of WirePoints. Mark, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan.
Were you able to follow Kathy Hochul's math there?
Yeah, we got to do that in Chicago, don't you think? New tax is actually a tax cut. It's just the kind of trick we usually play here.
Right. We were going to spend X amount. We're only going to spend X minus 1 amount. Therefore, we have achieved glorious savings for the taxpayers just over and over again. And people wonder why they're trying to patch up these budgets at the city and state level.
It's kind of astonishing. And it's about as perplexing as Governor Pritzker wearing the cloak of being a champion of democracy, with his, he's apparently trying to brand himself as a pure play for the radical left. And the cloak he's going to wear is that he's defending democracy through that, and he's, in fact, probably the most undemocratic governor imaginable that we've had in memory. They really just have no shame on this and have learned nothing from the election.
Why is he the most undemocratic governor? Small d.
Well, I have an article posted on WirePoints that lists some of the things, just some of the examples. Readers keep reminding me of further ones. But for starters, we had 43 consecutive emergency orders where he ruled by executive fiat during the pandemic, another 38 consecutive emergency orders to implement his personal decisions about assistance for illegal immigrants. Of course, he bought his office with $300 million, bought 2 Supreme Court seats with $100 million, $1 million each for 2 seats. The multiple things that have come out of the legislature that he has signed off on violate the constitutional rights and First Amendment. Remember, a federal judge scolded Illinois for passing a law that tried to muzzle pro-lifers as stupid as well as unconstitutional. It was so foolish that Kwame Raoul threw in the towel and couldn't try to defend it. Tried to throw Donald Trump and Robert Kennedy off the ballot. Meddled in the Republican primary by funding the campaign of his chosen opponent. Just goes, the list goes on and on.
How about his recently ruled unconstitutional gun ban?
That's another one, and that's their habit, is they put up things that are unconstitutional. Great, you got constitutional rights, but you have to go to court to enforce them. That's the fundamental problem, especially on free speech things, as we've talked about in this show before. He's utterly indifferent to where the line is and passes things beyond the line. So the average person would have to go to court to enforce the most fundamental rights in Illinois.
What about his chance? I mean, he says already that he's not going to run for president, but I mean, he's constantly a go-to now on CNN. And what do you think he's going to do with his future? Because he's going to be term limited.
No, he's not term limited.
I mean,
there's no term limits.
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently, this is a setup, and he thinks, again, that being a pure play for the radical left is the way to go for his national stature. This new group that he has called Governors protecting democracy is Governor Safeguarding Democracy is the name of it. He's only got two takers, actually. He and his co-founder, Jared Polis from Colorado. Even the other liberal governors have so far declined to join it, which is kind of interesting, although they're putting up their own resistance in their own ways. So his group is pretty small, but he's put a lot of effort into it. They've got a big, fancy website up, and that's his pitch. He's defending democracy by focusing on his resistance to Trump's policies on immigration and on transgender rights. Gender changes for minors apparently is the other key matter that he's going to focus on through that group.
Well, I mean, it could be a ticket. It could be they could present themselves as a ticket in 28. I mean, so Pritzker runs for re-election in 26. Of course, he's not going to talk about presidency until he wins re-election. He wins re-election, then he immediately talks about 28 and running for president. That's how it'll go down. And why not? In Illinois, you get away with just being opposed to Trump. I mean, there's no additional subtextual assessment of what exactly are you opposed to and what exactly are you promoting. As long as you're standing in opposition to Trump, then you assure yourself, well, apparently at least 50, what did he come in at? 53, 54%? What did she come in at with, actually? 53 or 54% of the electorate. That's good enough.
You know, the political calculation on this, I just don't get. Abortion and Trump are, abortion is popular. Trump is particularly unpopular in Illinois. Maybe there's a case to be made that that's a smart play to try to capture the far left vote around the country. But the rest of it, I just don't get. He's thumbing his nose at what Illinois is like. Illinois is a centrist state. You know, when you pull them on the issues, they may not vote that way, but for the most part, they are middle of the road. They want to get border enforced and all the rest.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's nice that they say those things, but what matters is how they actually vote.
How they vote, that's right.
Know, I'm sure they like to, all these independent-minded people who are, hard left voters, right? Yeah, that this is all just pretense because, of course, they don't want to come across, especially up there in the Tony North Shore, one of the pockets of lunacy. They don't want to come across as lunatics. They're too educated and too successful. How can I be a lunatic? Well, I don't know. I'm just watching what you do and what you say and who you support and what it's done. And apparently there's not much consideration given to any of those other things about behavior and impact.
That really proves the absurdity of Pritzker's position that this is, his cloak of being a safeguarder of democracy. The results, the election results, don't match where people are on policy, and the whole thing is just absurd.
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree with you. His position politically doesn't make sense with an eye towards 28, but he'll morph. I mean, they all think they're so clever. He'll morph into something more moderate on some of these issues, I presume, after 26. And again, no need to be specific on things. You just present yourself in a cape and as a safeguarder of democracy, as you said. Anything that you saw from the Illinois election results that is encouraging?
No, just that the deterioration was so broad-based. I was just looking at the numbers on college students that it was pretty even. So they're particularly large swing in young voters abandoning the far left, and essentially it's a matter of what's cool, what's acceptable socially for young people, and if they start growing up with the notion finally that you can stand up to the left and that's acceptable within your group, that's pretty big change, I think, in direction.
Mark Lennon, founder and executive editor of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and health care, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
$20 million. No, it's not the national debt. It's the buying spree at Fox Valley Coins. And it's on from now until Thanksgiving. It's really the perfect storm. Gold and silver are at historic levels. Fox Valley Coins has a huge order to fill with one of their national clients. And September through Thanksgiving is always when coin dealers stock up for Christmas sales. They are especially looking for the old collector coins like silver dollars, all 1700s through early 1900s coins. All kinds of gold, from broken jewelry to gold bars to the old coins, U.S. and foreign. All kinds of silver, from sterling silverware to old coins and bars to Franklin Mint items. They can pay cash or check and make house calls on larger deals prior to Thanksgiving. Fox Valley Coins, one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. They'll make free, no-obligation offers. Make that 20,000,001 reasons to go to Fox Valley Coins now. They give free in-store offers on your items.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
A new Dem special operation into Elon Musk and other Trump world players. We'll start there at 8:08.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
A funeral held for a Chicago police officer, Enrique Martinez. A retired CPD officer shot in the North Center neighborhood. A Darien woman charged with a hate crime after an incident at a suburban restaurant. Bulls take down the Pistons, and the Blackhawks host the Ducks. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
War rages in Ukraine for the 1,000th day. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. And Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is asking European leaders in their parliament today for even more military help.
We have succeeded not only in preventing Putin from taking Ukraine, but also in defending the freedom of all European nations.
Now, as Russian leader Vladimir Putin's war continues, another missile strike in Ukraine has killed 12 more people, while Fox's Jonathan Savage reports.
The Ukrainian military claims it hit a Russian weapons stash 70 miles beyond its border. The Ukrainian media and the Russian Defense Ministry both say US-supplied ATACMS missiles were deployed. Over the weekend, President Biden decided to allow Ukraine to use them on targets deep inside Russia. A new Kremlin policy allows Russia to use nuclear weapons if an enemy backed by a nuclear power uses conventional weapons against it.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage again. Democrats are speaking out against President-elect Trump's mass deportation plan of immigrants here illegally. Some governors plan to resist, but Trump-appointed border czar Tom Homan tells Fox they have to smarten up and work with him to make communities safer.
We're going to focus on public safety threats and national security threats first. And fugitives, those who cross the border illegally, had great due process at great taxpayer expense, were ordered removed by an immigration judge and didn't leave. They're also a priority.
We expect an update today on the Trump legal case in New York City, where the president-elect was convicted of falsifying business records to keep an alleged affair quiet before the 2016 election. Now, prosecutors have to file their plan by today on how to proceed with sentencing. And if the Supreme Court's immunity ruling for former presidents affects the convictions, he calls it political persecution. Also in New York City, a homeless man in custody suspected in 3 stabbing deaths.
We have 3 innocent New Yorkers.
Mayor Eric Adams says all 3 were stabbed to death and they appear to be chosen at random. America's listening to Fox News.
8:02, 62 degrees on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A former police officer, was shot to death. Was shot and seriously wounded. It all follows gunfire in the North Center neighborhood.
There was like 3 gunshots, bang, 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 and you just knew that it was gunfire.
The 74-year-old was exiting his vehicle yesterday morning and critically injured by 2 suspects who fired in his direction. Alderman Matt Martin.
It's an absolutely horrific thing that happened, and that shouldn't happen anywhere, any time of day or night.
The victim suffered 2 gunshot wounds and was taken to the hospital and remains in critical condition. Police say 1 suspect is in custody. The other remains on the loose. A Darien woman faces a hate crime charge following an incident at a restaurant in Downers Grove over the weekend. Prosecutors say Alexandra Sostakowicz was at that restaurant Saturday when she confronted and yelled expletives at a man for wearing a sweatshirt with the word Palestine written on it. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson coming up with a new plan to try and close a huge budget gap. The Sun-Times saying that only days after the city council flatly rejected the mayor's proposed $300 million property tax hike, he now wants to cut that tax increase in half. The Bulls knocked down 23 three-pointers in a 122-112 win over the Pistons in Motown. Blackhawks host Anaheim at the United Center tonight. The News, a service of Health Insurance Mentors. Are you 65 or older and thinking about Medicare? Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Call Stephen Tucker today for free Medicare advice. HealthInsuranceMentors.com, 630-674-1551, 804. Time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Walmart is reporting a better than expected quarter. The stock is up 4%. It was expected to see a boost from grocery sales, but there are other bright spots, and online sales were up 27%. The company's raising its forecast for the year. Home improvement company Lowe's is reporting weaker sales, though its quarter was holding up better than anticipated. Shares of Super Microcomputer are up 25%. The company says it has hired an independent auditor, BDO USA, effective immediately to handle its accounting issues. Super Micro filed a plan with the NASDAQ and requested time to comply with its requirements. It's been facing delisting from the exchange. Stock futures are sharply lower, reflecting the situation with Russia and Ukraine. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola, invested in you.
Dennis Prager explains why Democrats must be upset.
He made inroads in every single group, the most loyal groups to the Democrats, blacks and Jews, made tremendous inroads. For Hispanics, it's not even an issue. Yeah, but nothing worked. The whole appeal to abortion, and the women voted Republican anyway.
The Dennis Prager Show, weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you looking for a trustworthy garage to keep your Dodge Ram 45 or 5500 Cummins engine in tip-top shape? Look no further than Remke's Garage in Marengo. At Remke's Garage, their experienced team treats every car like it's their own. Plus, they believe in transparency, no surprises, just honest service and fair pricing. Check out the incredible reviews that satisfied customers have left on Google as they speak for themselves. With state-of-the-art equipment and a commitment to quality, they're proud to be your local choice for automotive care. And here's the best part, they offer free pickup and drop-off for your convenience. Both individually owned and fleet vehicle programs available to meet your needs. So why wait? Swing by Remke's Garage today and let them get you back on the road with confidence. Visit Remke'sGarage.com. Remke's Garage, repairing America.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
My husband's a retired cop, and I worked in a hospital for years. I'm going out right now because I'm getting ready to paint my fence. It's just literally amazing. And, you know, you watch the TV articles, you go, yeah. Well, at least it's 100% returnable if it doesn't work. I'm not kidding you. It is the most amazing product I've ever taken.
Oh, I have a friend, Julia, who has taken a Balance of Nature now for quite some time. And she said, oh, Becky, ask your doctor about taking Balance of Nature. So I talked to my doctor about it, and she said, oh, try it.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Life takes a toll on our bodies, no way around it. Whether it's sitting hours on end at your computer or working a physical job, over time, your body pays the price. There is, however, an effective way to turn back the clock on pain. Relief Factor. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor helps support your body's response to inflammation. The difference, instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it for good, and it's 100% drug-free. If the pains that come with living a full life are affecting you, do as so many others have. Turn back the clock on pain with Relief Factor. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. When you feel good, it's amazing how much more you get out of life. So visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Try it for only $19.95. While we can't stop aging, not yet. We can stop pain. Turn back the clock with Relief Factor.
It is 8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. A service of Balance of Nature fruits and veggies in a capsule. Save 35% off your first preferred order with promo code Chicago. Save 35% as a preferred customer, but hurry, offer ends soon. Kennedy right now, 90 minutes O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Accident on the inbound Ike, right at Route 83, again on the inbound side. And another accident inbound at First Avenue on the Ike. Stevenson right now, an accident inbound at Central in 75 minutes from the toll road I-355 into Lakeshore Drive. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
A bit of rain early this morning, otherwise clouds breezy and mild. The high today 62, partly cloudy, cool tonight, low 41. Clouds breezy and cool, shower in spots tomorrow, the high 48. A couple of showers could mix with snow early Thursday, the high 41. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
62 at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Just going back to our discussion a little bit earlier about the searching for a soul that's going on, allegedly going on the left. I'm not seeing much evidence of it. There's a little bit, AOC's removed the pronouns from her social media profile. So
Wait, seriously?
yeah.
That's awesome.
So I guess that I guess that constitutes some searching for a soul that AOC is doing, more like searching for alignment with some of her constituents in the Bronx, I presume, who aren't so on board with men and women's sports and the rest of the trans lunacy.
I hate those pronoun things. I never partaked in them, but had to deal with them for 6 years.
But
Not here, but in my other job.
But we've heard from big city mayors, not named Eric Adams. We've heard from sanctuary state governors like Katie Hobbs and Jelly Belly.
Yeah, Jelly Belly spoke again yesterday, too.
That nothing, this is going to be business as usual. Nothing that happened on November 5th in any way will keep them from their appointed rounds as dutiful apparatchiks. Okay. Particularly as it pertains to mass deportations, right? The sanctuary state, sanctuary city politicians. Well, okay. Laken Riley's trial, the trial of the individual charged with murdering Laken Riley, that's going on in Georgia. The individual charged with her murder, the roommate of that person, testified. And we learned something else about how she and the man charged with murdering Laken Riley got from New York to Athens, Georgia.
How did you get to Athens?
¿Y cómo llegaron a Athens?
En Nueva York pedimos en Manhattan.
In New York, we asked in Manhattan.
En el Hotel Roosevelt.
And Hotel Roofing? Roosevelt.
De Manhattan pedimos un vuelo humanitario aquí hasta Atlanta.
In Manhattan, we requested for a humanitarian flight to come here to Atlanta.
And when was that?
¿Y cuándo fue eso?
Como el de 9 a 10 de septiembre.
Around the 9th, 10th of September.
So taxpayers were paying for them to stay at the Roosevelt Hotel in New York until taxpayers paid to fly him down to Athens, where that guy murdered Laken Riley.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. When I was watching that yesterday or the day before, my heart sank. It's like, now do you see Biden, Harris, all those Democrats, what you have done? Is it now sinking in? Do you have any humanity, any compassion? Can you come out now and say, you know what? Even what Trudeau's doing, what we've been doing is wrong and we're going to change? Because there's still time left, and all the people are coming up, all the mules. I don't know if you saw the report on Daily Wire, but all the mules are saying, if you want to come in, now is your time.
Trudeau didn't say what we did was wrong.
No, well, he said they're changing their plans, right?
Trudeau said we made some mistakes, unnamed, and he used big companies as the bad guys in the story. Big companies that want cheap foreign labor, and so that's why we have to alter course. He's not taking responsibility. There's not a single sanctuary state or sanctuary city politician that I've heard take responsibility. Eric Adams comes the closest, but he's not really taking responsibility for his previous support of sanctuary city policies. He's just sort of basically saying, look, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too expensive. It creates too many societal problems. And I'm happy to ship some people off to Chicago or anywhere else that they're still waving that sanctuary, come here at your leisure on our dime flag. And I'm happy to push them your way. And I'm not going to demonize Trump because I don't want to get into a yardstick contest with D.C. I don't want to risk federal support for the city of New York and so forth. So that's the closest and that I'm aware of that anybody has come. I'm not hearing any recriminations from people who have facilitated the death and destruction and disappearance that are attendant to open borders. Not a single person. What about Illinois? Why would they? Who paid a price for it? What state legislator did? What mayor did? What big city mayor did? Nobody.
Because it didn't happen to somebody in their family.
It's not to say it's not coming for some of these politicians in certain states. Katie Hobbs in Arizona would be at the top of the list. It could come. It can still come for them, but it's going to, obviously she's got a 4-year term. It's going to be another cycle. We'll have to visit this issue with her in 2026. But in terms of the sanctuary city politicians demonizing federal law enforcement, like our very own BLM Brandon and Jelly Belly, and doubling down, Michelle Wu in Boston, what are the consequences? Greg in LaGrange.
Hey, good morning. I'm glad I could get on about this. I can't understand how any human being can not empathize with the family and Lake and Riley on this. The only way you're going to solve this problem is going after the root cause and going out and digging out the criminals and getting rid of them first and making it absolute. And anybody bloviating about this, especially our governor, is not going to be able to do a thing, because I'll tell you what, if we're going to have a title fight between two competitors, Tom Homan being one and J.B. Pritzker being the other, it's going to be Tom Homan who comes out on top 100% of the time. And if there's any kind of pushback from this governor to Tom Homan and our administration that we voted in as the people spoke, they get nothing from us. You give them the old Michael Corleone line from Godfather 2. My offer to you is nothing.
Uh-huh.
If you cannot feel empathy for human beings that are being exposed to this kind of terror and this kind of crime, God help you.
Thanks for the call, Greg. And instead, what we have, what's the posture of the left in addition to what you've heard from those politicians? Trump is talking about using military assets in furtherance of border security. And this is, very concerning. This is emblematic of a fascist dictator and so on and so forth. That's what they're going with.
I know here, J.B. Pritzker doubling down yesterday afternoon.
We, of course, are deeply concerned about, the President of the United States calling out military inside the United States, where people are peaceful, even if there may be people who are undocumented. But the idea of calling out, the Army into the domestic confines of the United States seems uncalled for and may, in fact, be unconstitutional and illegal.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Well, there is a potential posse comitatus problem, military doing domestic policing, but the military can be called up to do specific things in furtherance of a domestic law enforcement operation. But I'll tell you what, Jelly Belly, if it offends you so much, then you go ahead and get your change purse from your wife, and you go ahead and litigate it. But of course the predicate is there may be some people here undocumented, but everything is peaceful and hunky dory. Is that the situation in Chicago even?
Peaceful? What is he talking about?
Uh-huh. Well, Tom Homan was on Fox yesterday reiterating what the 3 parallel rails are that he will be running the trains.
He's got 3 rails. So we'll do the deportation operation with the priorities I just talked to you out of the gate. That'd be the priorities. Second thing is secure that border. Lock that border down and catch and release and secure the border. The third rail is we got over 300,000 missing children. Over 500,000 children have been trafficked into the United States. This administration released them to unvetted sponsors, and they can't find 300,000 of them. And based on my 3.5 decades, some of these children are in forced labor. We already found some in forced labor. Some are in forced sex trafficking. Some of them are pedophiles. We need to save these children. That's going to be the third rail.
But what?
Mm-hmm. Once again, border security is the humanitarian mission. Border security is the humanitarian mission. A lawless, open border is exploitive and deadly.
Yeah, what?
And that
4,000
needs to be
people died trying to get here too.
and that needs to be attached to these open borders politicians like Jelly Belly and BLM Brandon. The humanitarian mission is the one Tom Homan is on. Ralph and Rantoul.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Open question. I probably already know the answer, but I'm wondering, when are we actually going to start behaving again that we are a country of laws? I mean, in Pennsylvania, people are knowingly and in your face counting illegal ballots, mail-in ballots, no signature. Let's fly illegal immigrants into the country at taxpayer expense solely for the purpose of populating weak Democrat areas because they want the votes, they need the votes, they want illegal people to vote. I mean, Tom Homan, God bless him, I hope he's actually able to carry out what he's promising to do, because you know what's going to happen, don't you, Dan and Amy? The moment that these families that are being deported en masse, intact families, deport them together, start crying and all of the video is shown. Oh my God, the humanity, it'll be like the Hindenburg of human suffering with deportation of illegals. You know that the average American moron isn't going to be able to stomach that because they're dumb. People are dumb. Like, God help us. I don't know how we're going to get back to anything that I remember from my youth.
One step
End
at a
of
time.
rant. Have a great day.
Thanks for the call, Ralph. What Democrats are focused on is something very different. Ryan Saavedra reporting for Daily Wire. Democrats launch private, quote, military-grade intel gathering operation targeting major figures, including Elon Musk. Democrats have a growing belief that their efforts must extend beyond the political sphere, trying to go on offense in a splinter media environment where conservatives have amassed more influence. One new liberal dark money group began prospecting for donors with the pitch that it would unearth unflattering revelations about the Murdoch family and Elon Musk. The group, called the 2+2 Coalition, plans to, quote, target the hidden sources of disinformation and expose them for what they are. The group asked donors for a minimum investment of $1 million, aiming to raise 10 to 15. The senior advisor, Rick Wilson, who is a grifting doofus, that's my parenthetical comment, he was a co-founder of the Lincoln Project with some people that probably should be on Tom Homan's list if they weren't American citizens in terms of exploiting children. Weaver? Anybody? He said, Rick Wilson did, that his organization would operate an opposition research firm, but with a military-grade intel gathering operation that went far beyond document vetting, typical of a political campaign. So, that's what the translation, it's just going to be your run-of-the-mill chop shop, your run-of-the-mill smear machine that's set up, just another one, and it's a way for Rick Wilson and some of these other bottom feeders to get paid. That's about it, but that's where they're focused. So again, in terms of this introspection that is alleged, and we need to think about it and learn from it, that's just what they say on TV to sound reasonable and to sound humbled, and they are neither of those things, with few exceptions. Bill and Waukegan.
Hey, good morning, guys. I just wanted to say that I have a friend that lives in Miami, Cuban Puerto Rican guy who voted for the Democrat. And I tell you what, I brought up different situations that he should be aware of and stuff, and he didn't even realize that Laken Riley was murdered by an illegal alien. I was just completely blown away by the fact that this guy was a great friend of mine, and just telling me that he didn't vote for Trump because of all the scare tactics that he was made aware of on the big time media. And the last thing I want to say, guys, is that you have a great show, but that I'm really pissed off that Pete Hegseth was nominated as the DOD guy, because I've had 41 years in the service. I'm retired, and I was ready for that position. Have a great day.
Sorry you got passed over,
Yeah,
Bill. Thanks
sorry,
for
Bill.
the call. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
All right, once again, our Food for the Poor campaign is underway, and as we help to provide life-saving food to children in Latin America and the Caribbean. During this season of economic decline, unemployment, the rising food costs, millions of children and their families are suffering. They simply don't know where their next meal will come from, and this can lead to sickness, disease, and ultimately starvation. This is why we are partnering with Food for the Poor once again. It's a faith-based nonprofit relief organization. They work directly with their partners on the ground in Latin America to operate feeding centers. I've seen it firsthand, and this relationship ensures that the money we raise during this campaign is used efficiently to get food to the children who need it most. Cutting out, there's no middleman. Food for the Poor has been doing this kind of work for 40 years, and 7-time gift of $50. What does $50 get you? Well, you will feed one child for an entire year and provide access to clean water for their entire community. For a gift of $200, you could feed 4 children for 1 year. That's the impact your gift can have. Think about it. $200, 4 children for 1 year. So to make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673, 844-862-4673, or visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. And listen up, if you're a business owner or make the marketing decisions for your company, become a business benefactor. What's that? Well, if you're thinking about advertising your company, this is a great way to do it. You make a one-time tax-deductible gift of $2,500 to Food for the Poor, and as a way of saying thank you, we give you 40 one-minute commercials to air right here Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. That is the best deal in all of Chicago radio. And at the same time, you will be providing life-saving food for over 50 children in Latin America and the Caribbean. To become a business benefactor, call Ann Jeanette, 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. For the first time ever, you'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to king-size for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever and receive free shipping on orders over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. They have never been offered this low before. They're limited quantities at this price, so the limit is going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88, the lowest price ever.
Well, if you're like me, you know somebody who has chronic pain in their knee or hip or shoulder. And guess what? You don't have to live with that pain day in and day out. There is a solution that does not does not require surgery, or masking the pain with daily medications. We're talking about QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative cellular treatments for that joint pain due to arthritis or an injury. They're led by Dr. Mitchell Shinecup. He's a pioneer in this technology that's giving people like you an option other than surgery. Folks, it's an all-natural approach that harnesses your own body's healing properties to treat the root cause of your arthritic pain or pain due to injury. Everybody's talking about it. Elite athletes have been doing this for years, and now you can too. Here's what you do. You're going to call this number, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. Schedule your free consultation, and they have Saturday appointments available. They have offices all over the Chicagoland area. You have nothing to lose. Find out for yourself. Learn all about it. 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955. QC Kinetics. Call 312-809-5955.
AM 560, The Answer.
I'm so excited about our next guest coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, at 8:38, Bears great Matt Forte joins us. He's got an announcement about a new show that we'll discuss. Also, he's stuck around Chicago. He's got a foundation that does a lot of good work around the city. We'll talk to him about that, and of course we'll talk to him about the current state of affairs, such as they are with the Bears at 8:38.
And I wonder if he would ever do the Donald dance. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
8:31. Prosecutors in President-elect Trump's New York criminal hush money case are set to tell the court today about how they think things should proceed after the election. Last week, the judge delayed ruling on Donald Trump's argument for presidential immunity. The G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro wraps up today. President Biden is there, promising $4 billion over the next 3 years to the World Bank Development Association. Today marks 1,000 days since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Russian troops poured into that country February 24th of 2002. Family and friends said an emotional goodbye to the Chicago police officer killed in the line of duty earlier this month. A funeral was held yesterday for Officer Enrique Martinez. Superintendent Larry Sneller.
I would love to believe that this will never happen again, and I can only pray for that. But we know what the risks are as we take to the streets every single day.
A retired Chicago police officer seriously wounded following a shooting in the North Center neighborhood.
There was like 3 gunshots, bang, 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 and you just knew that it was gunfire.
Authorities say the 74-year-old was exiting his vehicle yesterday morning in the 2000 block of West Berthoud when suspects fired in his direction. One suspect is in custody. The other remains on the loose. Revised estimates indicate now that the corruption trial of Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan will last longer than initially projected. Judge John Robert Blakey advised jurors yesterday that the trial would continue through mid-January after earlier suggesting it would end before Christmas. The Bulls 122-112 winners over the Pistons in Motown. They take on Milwaukee tomorrow night. Bulls great Bob Love has died at age 81 after a long battle with cancer, and the Blackhawks host Anaheim tonight. The news, a service of Balance of Nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule. Save 35% off your first preferred order with promo code Chicago. Order online at balanceofnature.com. Use the coupon code Chicago to save 35%. Hurry, offer ends soon. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2025? That sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what AM 560 The Answer wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest presented by Team Hochberg. Enter once per day, every day between now and December 20th, and you could have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
At Balance of Nature, the quality of our products always starts with TLC. Tender, loving care. We start by ensuring that only the finest fruit and vegetable ingredients are selected for our supplements. We put our ingredients through an advanced vacuum cold process that removes their moisture. Then they're ground up into a fine powder, encapsulated, and voila! Our fruits and veggies supplements are made just for you with love. And our commitment to care doesn't end there. Our customer care team is here to provide assistance, ensuring that you have the support and guidance you need. It's the tender, loving care you can see, smell, taste, and feel with every delivery. Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Let's get real. Did you wake up this morning with joint pain? Does it hurt doing the most routine activities? Have they told you it's time for knee or hip replacement surgery? Hi, it's Amy Jacobson, and stop what you're doing and listen. You deserve a life of comfort and ease with no surgery and no meds. And if you're a good candidate for these new treatments, QC Kinetics can get you there. Folks, it's an all-natural approach that harnesses your body's own healing properties to treat the root cause of your arthritic pain. Tens of thousands of satisfied patients with more every day. Yes, you can have real lasting relief from chronic joint pain without drugs, without surgery, without downtime. Learn about all of your options at QC Kinetics. The consultation is free with Saturday appointments available. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. QC Kinetics. Call 312-809-5955.
Wow. Are you buying or are you selling? As this is being written, silver is up more than 50% in just the past 8 months. And gold is the highest it's ever been. Whether you are just getting into the metals, want to roll your IRA into silver or gold, or want to take some profits off the table, Fox Valley Coins is ready, willing, and able to help. Even though Fox Valley Coins is a national dealer, they're family-owned and in your own backyard. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville almost always has the product you want in stock and pretty much always has the best pricing when you buy or sell. Buying or selling is easy. Bring your items in. We'll establish the price and pay you cash or check on the spot. Don't wait until the end of the year to move your assets around. Did you know that Fox Valley Coins has sold over 3,000 one-ounce silver Donald Trump coins? We have several designs, but they're going fast. Fox Valley Coins on Route 59 in Naperville. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
8:38, a check of the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Lowe's. Black Friday is back at Lowe's with up to 50% off. Select major appliances, plus an extra 10% off on select major appliances like Whirlpool. Valid 11/6 through 12/4. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for all those details. Kennedy inbound. Right now, it is 95 minutes O'Hare into the Burn Circle interchange. The Ike inbound right now, an hour 20, 390 into the old post office. The outbound Ike, you've got an entrance ramp closed due to an accident on the outbound on-ramp from Manheim Road. The entrance ramp to the outbound Ike there from Manheim shut down because of that accident. Stevenson, an accident. But right now on the right shoulder, inbound at Central, stop and go from Harlem Avenue. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Rain tapering off this morning, leading to cloudy, breezy, and mild conditions, and a high of 62. Cloudy and 60 right now. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I wish we could be trumpeting the Bears fight song, but another creative way to suffer a loss on Sunday against the Packers. 11 in a row? What is it? Like like 10-55 in the last 65 contests against the Packers. It's unbelievable. Dave Swirsky is this this dude who's been writing these Bears parody songs.
Oh, yeah.
We played one after the Hail Mary against the Skins, or you call them the Commanders.
Yes.
He has one up already.
For the
about
Packers loss?
About the faded Santos kick.
The kick's up. Green Bay, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. Once more. What the fuck? Sometimes I think, why do I care? Farver and now love, it's just not fair. Had the win in sight, but the kick went wrong. So yeah, this is fine. The kick's up, and Green Bay, they hurt me. They hurt me once more. What the fuck? 11 losses now in a row. Down to the pack we go again. Now I don't know if the fire's loose, but 4 straight Sundays were the Bears loose. This season's done, it's sad but true. This can't go on. The kick's up, and Green Bay, they hurt me. They hurt me once more. Oh dear God, Green Bay, they hurt me. They hurt me once more. 11 losses now in a row. Down to the pack we go again. What the fuck?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Did you pick up the song?
Yeah.
The underline, the song. What's the song?
Oh God, please. The name of the song, Justin. This is where the producer's supposed to help
Okay.
out the
All right. What is love?
What is love? Yes.
The one-hit wonder, Hadaway. You don't remember that?
I know. I do remember that song. That was in a Will Ferrell movie, right?
What? Okay. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. One bad guess or lack of a guess turns to another. For more on the Bears, but other important topics, pleased to be joined by Bears great, the second leading rusher in Bears history. Of course, it's tough to be the first. Legendary running back for the Chicago Bears. He's got a new program on Sports Spectrum we want to talk about. We also want to talk about the work that Matt Forte does through his foundation in Chicago. He's a Louisiana guy, but he's staying in Chicago and doing good work here. Of course, we appreciate that. Matt Forte, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good. So tell us about the new program, Sports Spectrum. This is cool. I used to read Sports Spectrum as a kid, and I kind of went away from it, and now I want to come back since I know you're going to be on that platform. What are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a podcast platform, but as you know, since you read it when you were younger, it's basically kind of the faith-based Sports Illustrated. I mean, the last 7 years, it's not like this is news. The last 7 years, it's been picked up by an organization called PAO, which is Pro Athlete Outreach. And I do a lot of ministry work with them, with pro athletes in MLB, NHL, and the NFL. And so this platform, Jason Romano started it back in, I think, 2015 with the podcast and has been building it for a while. And I'm taking over as the main host, but me and Jason will be working together, interviewing a lot of people at the intersection between faith and sports, because now that I'm retired, I see at a whole different level that sports is on a short amount of time and that life is much, much longer. And there's a lot of great testimonies and stories that people tell that can help others out that may be feeling hopeless or down, and or they might just need some encouragement, you know. So faith has always been a big part of my life, and it's a great platform for me to steward and be able to bring light into some dark places.
Yeah, that's excellent. You know, it's been interesting to me. We've talked about it on our program. You know, you have more and more athletes feeling comfortable talking about their faith. I mean, C.J. Stroud, the standout quarterback for the Texans, has talked about it and how it gives him sort of perspective on this high-profile job he has and the celebrity he has. But he keeps him centered and in proportion, you know, properly humble. We had the story just a couple weeks ago, or last week actually. Jake Bates, the kicker for the Lions, who was in concrete sales before he got the call from the Lions, and he kicks the game-winning field goal against the Texans, ironically. And talking about his faith, too, and just the perspective. It's interesting to hear athletes talk about, or people in the public eye, because you hear them talk about it in the context of, remembering what's important and how stabilizing that is and centering it is for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in this world, especially in pro sports, it's easy to have a lot of pride because people are chanting your name.
Right.
Sometimes they're probably booing you if you're playing for the Bears. But, and then you get paid a lot of money to play a sport, to play a game. And it's essential to remember to stay humble and that all doors are open. That God is opening those. It's not that we can do these things on our own or create our own opportunities. Yes, we have to work hard and be diligent and put a lot of effort into it. But I mean, to be honest and to be basic about it, we didn't create ourselves. I didn't give myself the talent to play football. I just had to develop it, and I was given an opportunity to do that. So, in other words, I have to, glorify God who has, and be unashamed of that. And so, you do see in today's arena in football, you see prayer on the field, and it's unfortunate that in culture, people talk about prayer and about God only when things go bad. And, everything is not going to go right in life. And so it's better to get a head start on those things and understanding how the world works and how it's shaped, and that eternally we're not going to stay here. When it comes down to it, we have to go somewhere, and it's not going to be on earth. I've never seen someone on their deathbed say, take me for another ride in my fancy car, or go get the money out of the bank and throw it on. So a lot of things that we care for in this world of money, fame, and cars and clothes and all that stuff passes away. And so this stuff that we talk about on Sports Spectrum is transcended. It transcends the game, it transcends the sport, but also it transcends life here on earth.
Now, Matt Forte, who we're speaking with right now, did you have God in your life when you played for Tulane back in college?
Yeah. Yeah, my grandfather is a pastor, or was a pastor for 60 years in Texas, and he passed that faith down to my father, who wasn't a pastor, but he played at Tulane as well. And I grew up going to Sunday school and going to church. And but that doesn't make me somebody who's perfect. I didn't do it all right. I had faith in my life, but I definitely wasn't living the right way. And that's part of my testimony, is that when I was growing up, that religion was just routine to me. I thought that if you go to church and you go to Sunday school, you put yourself in good environments, that, God will bless you. But that's not necessarily true. God wants a relationship with you personally, and not a routine transactional relationship or a business deal. And it took me a while, but that's what actually separates the Christian faith between any other religion, is that God gives us grace, and it's not by our own works that we get a relationship with Him. And so I had to figure that out while I lived, at Tulane in college, and then in the pros. And I can be honest with you guys. The doors and the stepping stones and the blessings that God has given me and opened those doors for me to play professional sports and beyond, I definitely didn't deserve it and wasn't living the right way. So He's so gracious that He allowed me to do that in spite of my own faults.
Yeah, it can't be translated. So when I say, God, if you let me make this putt, I'll go to church on Sunday, that's not the right approach.
No. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people were praying for that kick last Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
I think God is trying to teach the Bears fans and the organization something, that He is not transactional.
Yeah, right.
Well, then, when did you realize that, to change course with your relationship with God? What was the moment that you realized, I'm doing this wrong?
It's when I really actually started to read His Word and understand that the Bible was created and written, by the inspiration of God through man, and His Word is just, you have to read it for yourself. A lot of people make a lot of decisions and life-altering decisions without reading the full gospel or reading the full Word that has been given to you. And so, biblically, the Word says that heaven and earth will pass away, but his word will remain forever. And there's also other scriptures that talk about putting on the full armor of Christ, which, if you understand that, it's because people think life is a playground until you find out when you're an adult that it's a battlefield, and there's real battles to be fought out there. And so you have to put on the armor of Christ. And I always tell high school and young athletes that I would never go play a football game without a helmet or without shoulder pads. And so when you talk about life, the gospel is centered, and his word is centered to put it on so that it's in you, because it's a fact that whatever's in you is going to come out. Especially, it's like we're like sponges. Whatever's in you, when you put some pressure on it, it's going to seep out. And so if we have all the negative things or the things that we're entrenched in culture that are not so good, when things get hard, that's what's going to come out. So you need the word of God in you. So when I started really reading it for myself and then getting the understanding of what it meant, that's when the game changed. And I realized that I don't, like, faith is not what a lot of cliche things people say, that, oh, it's just a bunch of rules to obey and that you can't do this and you can't do that. There's actually really freedom in Christ to do what God has called you to do, and not just do what you think you should be doing. Because, if something is created, which we are, it has to have a purpose. If I created the toaster, I'm the one that can tell the toaster what it does. But the toaster says I'm a refrigerator, that doesn't make sense, and it's not living in purpose. And it's the same thing with humanity in life. God has created everybody for a purpose and a calling, and if you're not living in that, and if you don't understand that purpose and that it comes from God, then you're not living in your purpose and what you're actually supposed to be doing, and you won't find fulfillment. I've had a lot of friends and people that I've met, athletes and not, that are millionaires and billionaires, and you would think that they have no problems because they feel self-sufficient. But at the end of the day, if they're not living out their purpose or calling, there's an unfulfillment there that only God can fill that void. And we try to fill it with all these things that the world offers but could never do. And so that's what the gospel does. It fills that void that God created in you, that's positioned for him, and only he can fill it.
Well said. The idea of freedom comes through Christ. And nice William Perry reference working there. You mentioned the refrigerator. I wanted to, so what you just said dovetails perfectly with your foundation, which I like the name too. What's your forte? Foundation. I see what you did there.
Yes.
One of the things I was just looking at it, the entrepreneurial piece of it too. So, obviously the spiritual piece that you're talking about now, the faith piece, but also, and I saw summer camps and other activities, but that entrepreneurial, financial literacy, entrepreneurial. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a program that we like to, get the youth, because there's so many different facets of, callings and occupations and things that kids can be interested in. And sometimes, or a lot of times in underserved neighborhoods, they don't get exposed to those opportunities to understand, oh, maybe I would like to, be an entrepreneur or start my own business, or maybe I would like to be in the financial field. And regardless whether you want to or not, you need to understand finances and how that works. So we offer, and we have a lot of partners and experts like Lakeside Bank and, even Amazon and people and companies that come in and give seminars, and they also even hire some of the kids for workforce development. And everything is geared off of preventing gun violence and violence in general, any kind of violence, because they won't have a lot of idle time on their hands. And I know from being a child that when you have the old saying that idle mind is the devil's workshop, because if they don't have anything to do, they're just going to go out and just find something to do. And usually it's trouble. So what we do is actually try to help them to find their forte and what they are interested in and passionate about, and then give them a launching pad to be able to do that. And this started back in 2014 when I was here in Chicago and understood that where I am, I need to be an influence. And obviously, with there being a lot of gun violence on the South and West Side, I wanted to make an impact in those areas. And I felt that the platform of NFL would give me the ability to go into a place where there's not a lot of hope and there's a lot of darkness, and shed some light by using my foundation to do that. And when I was at Tulane, that seed was planted because my freshman year, a guy named Brandon Spencer, who was a teammate of mine, who was a local New Orleans kid who was a senior, was about to change his life and his family's life and the trajectory of his family. And he was murdered, senselessly murdered by gun violence in the off season. And being at his funeral as a freshman and seeing that casket really impacted me, and understood how senseless that gun violence is, and how it can really deter an entire generation or a family. And that's what inspired me to start the foundation and to be an impact to where God had placed me here in Chicago.
Great stuff. That's great stuff. All right, we can't let you go without asking about the Bears. I'm convinced DeAndre Swift is the guy, but what about Caleb Williams?
I think Caleb is in a tough position, but I'm actually glad he's going through this tough of a time early. When it comes easy to you early on, a lot of times it's harder to figure it out, because the next year, for instance, in the NFL, it's always been said, like, talented guys can have, anybody who's really talented that play in the NFL can have a good season. But once defensive coordinators figure you out and they scheme against you, that's when you have to reinvent yourself and really show that you have a craft for the game. And he's learning a lot right now. So I just hope, my hope is that he's humble enough to not, be sad and sulk in the losing season that they're having, and that they get some things. I mean, the organization has a lot of issues, right? We got a lot of coaching issues. There's spots that need to be filled that just year after year haven't been filled. Even when I was there, we would try to draft offensive linemen in the first round, and a lot of them didn't work out. And we need to have a culture of winning, which we have not had in a long time. And so that's hard to turn that ship around and get it going. So, but for Caleb, I think he is talented enough to be the guy. I think they just need to have people put him in a position to make the right plays and to teach him everything he needs to know. Because if we're honest, college quarterbacks come in today and they're not very good at reading defenses and understanding the blitz and all kind of stuff. So it's a learning curve that has to happen when they come in, because a lot of times the colleges make it easy for them, and they run an offense that nobody runs in the NFL. So it will be difficult, it will be hard, but nothing worth it is ever easy. So with that being said, I think it's the best form. You get put into the fire early, and then you come out shining.
All right. As long as he can survive the fire and running around for his life. Matt Forte, right. He's the legendary running back for the Chicago Bears, of course, second leading rusher in Bears history. He's the new co-host of the Sports Spectrum podcast, which you get at sportsspectrum.com. And again, his foundation is whatsyourfortefoundation.org, whatsyourfortefoundation.org, doing the good work he was describing in the city of Chicago. Matt Forte, thanks so much for joining us. Pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, that was fun. Thanks so much for... Oh, yes.
No, I mean, Matt Forte, wow, what an impressive guy.
No, I love hearing his story, too, and his journey with God. God bless him and everybody that listens to the show. Thank you to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy, back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Enjoy your day. It's going to be warm and humid, a high of 62 degrees. It's 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Ukraine appears to be using what the U.S. provided. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Russia claims 6 missiles